Chess is about to change forever. Welcome to the highest stakes chess tournament in history, featuring the game's most talented grandmasters and a large pool of players from around the world, all playing for $1 million purse. Welcome to the first ever Millionaire Chess Open from the main ballroom of Planet Hollywood on the Las Vegas Strip. Chess will never be the same.
Welcome back to round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open, live here in Las Vegas at Planet Hollywood. Here we have over 550 players playing for a total kitty of $1 million. Players representing over 40 countries from all around the world. The action is just getting started. We are starting round 2, but just to wrap up here with round 1, we have just finished round 1, starting round 2, and you know, most of the grandmasters and the top players have achieved the predicted results. They've all won their games, except for one very big upset by young Brooklyn boy Justin. My name is Ariane Kawili, and I am here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. Robert, how would you recap round 1?
Well, round 1 was super exciting. We had Justice Williams, who just came off his plane, young teenager from New York, beat Sergey Azarov in a huge upset of the round. We also had a draw on the board next to him where Evgeny Nair couldn't get an advantage against his significantly lower-rated opponent. That being said, the Grandmasters took care of business on the other boards. There were some shaky moments where Bu Zhangji on board 2 didn't look like he was going to win for a while, but came through like in the clutch, a Grandmaster type of performance by him. So look for him to bounce back today with maybe more of an advantage in this evening round. Otherwise, pretty straightforward round, the top seeds going through, but now it's getting more difficult as they begin to play each other.
Talk about it just heating up. Tell us about the pairings for round 2. There are some pretty hot matchups here on the top boards.
Yeah, we have Grandmasters playing each other on board 1 between Alexander Ivanov and Wesley So. Alexander Ivanov is a veteran, played in the United States Championship many, many times, formerly played in the Soviet Union. Wesley So, as we know, is the top-seeded player in the tournament. He's the favorite. Everyone's trying to bring him down. There's that headhunter prize we talked about last time, but there's a bounty if people can upset those top 5 seeds in the open section. That being said, there's also interesting matchups on board 2 between youngster Akshay Chandra and Bu Zhangji, who we just mentioned. On board 3, we have another interesting matchup between Young Yu Wan and Liquang Liam. And Liquang Liam is one of our favorites for the event as well. So Grandmaster battles in these top boards, strong players are competing against one another. It is really going to be a test of skill in this round.
Yes, Robert, this definitely looks like it's going to be a long one. Over to Lawrence for the key matchup of the round.
Yes, guys, well, it's round 2. It's already late in the evening here. It's going to start taking its toll on the players. It's a grueling schedule. And on the top board, we've got Alexander Ivanov versus the young hope, the new young American hope, Wesley So. We can see there a little head-to-head of these guys in terms of where their strengths lie. We can see that Wesley has got a huge probability of winning this game. Of course, he's higher rated, and by judging by the position, we'll have a look at that in a moment, but he's doing reasonably well out of the opening. But if we look at the individual aspects of their games, we can see there that when it comes to threats, when it comes to king safety, when it comes to really dynamic play, Wesley So really thrives. Whereas Alexander Ivanov, as we can see on the left-hand side of the screen, is more of an old school kind of, he likes his things slow, he likes to outplay his opponents, long maneuvering games. So it's a real clash of styles between these two, which is really great for us to see. And we're going to see how these two battle out. They're still in the opening. We'll get to the game very shortly.
Thank you, Lawrence. Now, before we get into the deep details of round 2, I would like to key us into MC correspondent Alexander, who has some impressions of round 1.
Thanks, Ariane. I'm actually inside the Celebrity Ballroom for the second round. A little bit more serious faces inside, but now that we've got round one out of the way, you can literally hear a pin drop inside, which is one of the things about Millionaire Chess, to hold up the integrity of the game. But in behind me, there are hundreds of people, and it's so quiet in here, and everyone is wanting to win this round. So I'll be outside interviewing people, and so stick with us, and we'll bring the characters out as they finish their rounds. Back to you, Ariane.
Thank you, Alexandra. It looks really tense in there. Everyone is just concentrating so hard to win that big prize. Robert, what game have we got to look at first?
So we're going to start on board one over here with Wesley So playing Alexander Ivanov. And as we saw with the little diagram before, Wesley So is the huge favorite. But that can only be on paper sometimes. When you get into the game, sometimes that rating advantage doesn't play out as it should and as we perceive it will on the board. However, in this battle, I think Wesley So has the advantage on the board, not just on paper. If we look at his game here, Alexander Ivanov has 2 knights to Wesley So's 2 bishops. Generally, grandmasters like the 2 bishops. In this position, I think Wesley So is very happy to receive the position he got as black. A possible move here is just to castle. And if he does castle here, he is allowing Ivanov to trade on f6. And the point of trading on f6 is that after bishop takes f6, this d5 square is a permanent weakness. However, it takes a while for Alexander Ivanov to get his knights there. In order to do so, he would have to jump from his knight from a3 to c2 to e3 and then to d5. That certainly takes a while. In the meantime, Wesley So is going to put pressure on the queen side, try to activate his pieces. We saw he likes mobility, he likes his king safe, and he will use that to his advantage. So let's look out for Wesley So to kind of put some pressure on his opponent.
Yeah, I think Wesley is adopting a very different strategy here. He's, well, quite lately, not being very adventurous in his opening choice, you know, quite favoring the solid opening, the Berlin, for example. Here, he's whipped out a Sicilian. It's clear he knows what he's going for. He's going for some sharper positions where he can calculate and then evaluate the position. That's what he's doing, and I think he knows what he's doing, especially against Ivanov, who is extremely experienced in these kind of tournaments. Wesley's adopting a very aggressive strategy, and I think it's going to pay off for him. Over to you, Lawrence, for some insight into that game.
I think it's very clear to everybody who's watching that as Wesley's opening choice means he's really in business for a win. He's not looking to settle, you know, for a draw. He's out there on the attack. But I have to admit, he's just played a move that I'm not a fan of. I liked Robert's suggestion of in the given position where Wesley just castles his king, gets his king safe, and says, hey, you know, I got the 2 bishops, what you going to do? Instead, Wesley played the move knight to h5, which is a very odd move in this position for 2 reasons. Firstly, now white can trade bishops, and what that means is that this pawn on d6, which is called a backward pawn can't be protected by another pawn, and it's on a semi-open file, it's under a bit of pressure there, and it means that this king, the second reason here, is in the middle for the moment. Now, although this isn't drastic by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not a big fan. Yes, the knight, you could say, has got a future on f4. It might want to spring into action like this, but maybe white can just go g3 here. We might be loosening a few of the light squares, but, you know, sometimes you've got to take risks, and I think Wesley today has realized that if he goes a bit too slow, white's going to be able to neutralize things, and he won't be able to generate winning chances.
Thank you, Lawrence. You know, this tournament is all about risk. The players have taken a huge risk to come here to try and win that money, and you've got to take risks early on if you think you're going to have a chance. And before we get into more games of round 2, let's look at the standings after round 1. As we see here, we have pretty much the top seeds all winning their games in the first round. Robert, how do you think this is going to change in the next few rounds?
Well, you know, the players have to be careful not to get the upset bug. We already saw Azarov went down to Justice Williams. and now the pairings are that much tougher. These standings reflect, in tie-break order. So the top player, Wesley So, is still, at the top with 1 out of 1. We have Bu Zhangji, Yu Yangyi, the young Chinese player. So we have a lot of competition towards the top. And as you notice, these players are all grandmasters. They will all be fighting for that top prize. And as the people with their score group whittles down, the competition will just heat up. And this round is already, just in round 2, is getting really tense.
It is, Robert. Now let's have a look at the second big matchup of round 2, which is against one of the youngest grandmasters in chess history, Chinese Bu Zhangji versus very young international master, 14 or 15 years old, I believe. What's going on?
Well, Ariane, the position actually looks pretty okay for the player playing black. That's the young Akshat Chandra. He's on board 2, and he's got to be excited. He's in this Millionaire Open, the biggest purse in Open history in the United States, and he's playing really well right now. He is trying to become a grandmaster. He's almost there, and in this game, he's attacking this pawn on d5. Now that's an extra pawn, so white is ahead in material for the moment, but it looks like that pawn's going to collapse very soon. The idea is that even if you protect it with the move knight to e4, which looks pretty good, black is just going to continue piling up on it. Maybe rook to d8, and as we see, queens don't like being on the same file as the rook, so that pawn will be pinned, it'll be under attack, and if black can scoop that pawn back up, it looks like a pretty level game. So I think Chandra's up to good things in this one.
But surely, Robert, white has a pawn advantage. If he can save that pawn clearly or push it to d6, black's going to be in a bit of trouble, don't you think?
Well, if that pawn gets to d6 and it stays there, black's in a whole hell of trouble. But I don't think it's getting there. I think that even once you push it to d6, it's going to fall very soon. For example, after the move d6 in this position, he can go back with his knight to e8. It looks like he's hanging his bishop on e7, but if the bishop comes off, so does the white queen. And with that, it gives black the huge advantage because we trade, and it looks, if you get another move, this rook is coming down to d8 with a decisive advantage, but no. Just in time is this move queen to e6, and the pawn on e7, the knight on e4, the bishop on e3, all are in trouble. Black will be okay. So he's just in the nick of time to prevent this pawn push from d5 to d6, and he's still fighting in the game right now.
Well, it looks like Bu Zhangji is going to have to pull something out right here. Otherwise, he's going to have to split the point, or even something worse against the young 14, 15-year-old prodigy. Because this is the kind of tournament you just got to win every single round if you want to have a chance at that first prize. What are some other games that we can have a look at?
Yeah, there's some very interesting games, and we have Sam Shanklin playing against Irina Krush. And Irina is the reigning U.S. women's champion. I believe she's a 5-time U.S. women's chess champion.
Definitely one of the strongest ladies in U.S. chess. Very exciting matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And Sam Shanklin, as you mentioned, the Olympiad gold medalist on board 5. And he's really trying to win this tournament. I've talked to him a bunch of times. He's a very talented player. Let's just dive right into his game here. So at the moment, it looks very crazy. The black king is still in the center. We don't like not having our king castled, but there's so many pieces under attack. This knight on e5 is currently under attack because there's the queen and the bishop are hitting it. And I think sooner rather than later, Irina's going to want to get her king to safety.
Robert, that's fascinating, and I think that Lawrence has something to add to that.
Well, Robert's instincts are absolutely right. And you know what? I think Irina's in big trouble already. If we go to the position at the moment, we can see she's just played the move bishop c7. And here, I like the move pawn to b4 for Sam Shanklin. Just hitting the queen, very simple. Now if the queen retreats, there's an absolutely spectacular move, which for me secures a big advantage. It's the move knight to d7. It's a very tricky move to foresee, but a very effective one. What's going on? Well, quite simply, if the bishop takes the bishop here on f4, we take the knight off, the queen takes it back, and then we recapture on e4. And basically what happens is that suddenly all of black's pawns, especially on the queen side, are in big trouble. If white were to pick up a couple of these pawns, suddenly his majority, which is what he's got over there, is going to come marching home. And at the same time, it's not really clear what black can do to defend against that. For example, a move like queen e5 doesn't do anything. If he moves the pawn, the queen comes in. So I think that's one potential variation. And b4, if we look at the current position, is a real natural move. It's one of the first moves you look at, just kicking that queen away. You just have to see knight d7. And it looks as though Sam could have a little bit of a nibble or maybe even a bit more. So bit of bad news for Irina Krush fans at the moment.
Thank you, Lawrence. What a shame if one of the best women U.S. chess players goes down today, but it's still a fight. So I would like to bring your attention now to our MC correspondent, Alexander, who has the youngest player in the tournament.
Thanks, Ariane. I'm with Jonathan Chen, yes, the youngest, and by far the best dressed of round 1 and 2, personally, in my opinion. We were just posting a selfie of us on the MC app, right? Did you like that?
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you think of Millionaire Chess so far? You like the tournament?
Yes.
What do you like about it?
About under the 1400 rating. I am almost up to the 1400, so I was wondering if I can just get into the under 1600 after when I win the first and second game.
And your goal is to be what, Grandmaster?
Yes.
Are you going to set an age goal for that?
Yes.
How old do you want to be a Grandmaster?
6.
But you're 6 now.
Maybe something 8.
Okay, let's split it down the middle. I'm going to interview you the next Millionaire Chess, and you're going to be Grandmaster then?
Yes.
How many hours do you play chess? A week, a day? Let's say a day.
1 hour.
So you're in grade 1?
Yes.
So you go to school all day and then you play chess right away?
Yes. After school, I play chess. Almost every day, I play with my dad after school.
What is it about chess that you want, besides the Grandmaster goal? There's a lot of money here. Do you like the competition?
I like the competitions.
Yeah. You're so sweet, though. They must take you for granted, and then you sweep it all for the win?
Yes.
You like that feeling?
Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan, we're going to follow you through the whole tournament, okay? Good luck. You are the youngest player in Millionaire Chess. How proud are you? Pretty proud. I know. Look how modest he is. Every chess player seems to be modest. Back to you, Ariane.
Thank you, Alexander. I love you, Jonathan, already. Definitely my pick for the best dress at the Millionaire Chess Open. I believe there's a prize for that, isn't there, Robert?
Oh, if there is, he definitely will win it because his bow tie was on point. He looked great. He's a young competitor, and it's great to see players like that in this tournament.
And speaking of juniors, Robert, I believe we have Ray Robson, young, promising U.S. Grandmaster, playing here against Kasper Dorozdowski.
Yeah, we have Ray Robson is black here, and it's already a crazy battle. So in the position on the board, white was up a pawn. White had this pawn in the center attacking this knight on f6. And from here, it became really, really exciting chess. So he's not going to let his opponent just take the knight on f6. So Ray played this very tricky move, knight to g4. So at first, you thought, well, can you just take the knight? The problem is, if you allow, if you take the knight on g4, then bishop takes g5, and white is up a pawn, but it's not a real pawn. There are so many weak pawns for the white side here. The double e pawns, the double g pawns, and that's not looking good for white. So instead, his opponent went bishop takes e7 after knight to g4. And it looks like white has just captured a free bishop. However, queen to f2 check forces the only move, king to d1. And after king to d1, white is up a bishop and a pawn, but his king is in some trouble. However, queen takes g2 was played, which looks like the best move to me, threatening both the rook on h1 and knight to f2 check, forking the king and the queen. So, with white to move here, I would play pawn takes g4. If bishop takes g4 check, looks like a good response. King to c1. Queen takes h1 check with a free rook. And now king to c2. And white has 2 minor pieces for the rook. The king is much safer now than it was before. The knight next move will come from B1 to D2, when you get your minor pieces out, you have 2 of them for the rook. And if that's the case, Ray Robson may be in some serious trouble in this game.
Well, as we can see on the video there, Ray's looking very confident. And the last few years has shown he's been working on his chess, especially in the openings. It's quite evident. He's playing solidly, and he's clearly confident, concentrating here. But, you know, looking at him, he does not look like a chess player, more like a basketball player. That guy is very, very tall. Now, Lawrence, I believe you've got something to say about this game.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty, and unfortunately, like a lot of things in life, doesn't mean it's good. I fear for Ray's position. I agree with Robert with what he said. If we look at what's happening after Queen takes G2, Robert was spot on. Pawn takes knight, and then this variation that he mentioned before, and then suddenly just getting your pieces out. White's got a huge benefit of having this little knight on B3. Does a great job protecting the rook on A1, meaning that this knight, if black were to take the pawn, for example, can now come into the game. 2 pieces for a rook is more or less the same in terms of material balance, but when it comes to middle games, where there are a lot of weaknesses to exploit, the 2 pieces normally work a bit better. So although it's not critical, if I had to take a colour, it would be white. So some work to do for Ray Robson.
Definitely, I think Ray Robson has some work to do, but he's looking pretty confident. How do you think about that, Robert? You know, when you're the top seed and you're playing, wouldn't you feel a bit of pressure? You maybe make some emotional decisions that might not be accurate?
Yeah, definitely. There is psychological pressure on the high-rated player. There's also, I don't have the times up, but Ray gets in quite a bit of time trouble. And when the position gets this complex, there are all these sacrifices possible. The king is running. You really need to make the most of your chances. Time is of the essence, and he gets down to the 1 minute, whittles that clock down as low as possible before finally coming through. So I don't like his chances here. I think that he may go down this round and be one of those higher-rated players to face an upset bug.
Yeah, definitely look at those percentages. A 78% chance win for White. Now, I'd like to remind everybody that changes. That evaluation changes with every move. But at the moment, the statistics are showing a big favor for White here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, White is definitely in the driver's seat. 78% may be a little high. I would feel confident as the player with the white pieces here. So I think, and I'm gonna lay it down. I think that Ray Robson is losing this round. I'm sure of it.
Well, Robert, before you get too excited, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll be back in a minute.
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peter Svidler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vichy Anand, Peter Svidler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere $13.99 per month, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. Make Chess24 your playground.
Welcome back to round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open. My name is Ariane Quealy. I'm joined with Grandmaster Robert Hess and hopefully future Grandmaster Jonathan Chan. How are you?
Good.
This little guy is 6 years old and he is the youngest participant in our tournament. He lost his first round, but he's come back with a big win in round 2. How are you going to continue this winning streak? Are you going to go for one?
Yes.
Yeah? How are you going to prepare for round 3? No, you're not going to prepare. You need to have a good sleep. And tomorrow morning, you just get in there and kill everybody, right? Yeah? Are you feeling confident?
Yes.
Well, you're definitely going to win the best dress prize. Look at this bow tie, Robert.
The bow tie is excellent. The little handkerchief in the pocket is great. You're dressed extraordinarily well. And you're making us look bad here on the set. So thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan. And we hope that you become a future Grandmaster. And we want to see more success from you in this tournament.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Good luck for the rest of the tournament. See you soon.
Thank you.
Lawrence, over to you.
You know, comes a time in a man's life where a young person, he's wearing a better suit, he's wearing a better bow tie, hell, he's even got the pocket handkerchief. It makes you realize you need to change a few things in your life. But great to have him on the show. Thank you for outshining everybody here. That was great. And he even had better hair. I mean, we should just get him here, right? Yeah, maybe. Maybe in the future, who knows? So many youngsters playing. That's what I love about this tournament. We've got, I'm talking about so young, it's the fluffy mustaches. That's how young they are, you know what I mean? And if we go back to the games in a moment, you guys, if we look at the top boards, I've seen a few fluffy mustaches there. You know, we've got Chandra and we've got Jeffrey Zhong. Basically, it's just unbelievable how good these guys get at such a young age nowadays.
Thanks, Lawrence. Speaking of yet another youngster, we're running out of words. Youngster, junior, they're all young and juniors. Yu Yangyi, superstar from China. Stellar performance at the last Olympiad where China won their first gold medal. How is he doing?
Well, he's a great position. I don't know, over the last few moves, something very drastic has happened. If we just back up a few moves here, it looked like white was in the driver's seat. And a few moves have changed the whole dynamic of the game. So black played rook to d8. And as we've seen in previous games, sometimes sacrificing the queen for more material is the best way to go, even though the queen is the most powerful piece. So white captured that rook on d8, black captured the queen, and now rook takes f7. And it looks all over for black, in my opinion. The next move is rook f8 check, if possible, and this bishop on d8, this bishop on c8, big trouble. And so I think that, if you're Yu Yangyi, you're incredibly happy with the position. You won your first game. You're looking ready to win your second game. So the young Chinese player really is a force to be reckoned with in this event. And I think that he's going to pull in a second point here.
Lawrence, what have you got to say about this?
Absolutely. There's actually a knockout blow right now on the board if Yu Yangyi sees it. We see the position of the king g8. The king comes over not only to attack the rook, but to deprive the rook of coming down to f8 as before. But there's a little trick in chess, a little theme that's called distraction. No, it's not when you're playing a certain type of opponent. It's actually a theme on the board where you distract a piece from its role of defending. And in this position, white can play the stunning move, rook takes a7. Looks like he's giving up his rook, but that is not the case, because if the queen takes, then the rook takes the bishop down on d8, the king will move, and then the white rook can collect on c8. And what this means is white has got 3 pieces for a queen, a rook, bishop, and knight. And with the weak black king, and white, I say weak because the rook is patrolling this back rank here, the bishop is going to reroute round to d3. This is game over. Quite simply, it's theoretically lost. So if Yu Yangyi sees it, he's going to win the game. And I believe he just played rook takes a7. So Fishbane in deep trouble.
Thank you, Lawrence. Yu Yangyi, probably one of the most unpredictable players of the Millionaire Chess Open. Young player from China. You don't know what he's going to play. He's got this kind of style, passive, aggressive one day, passive the next, but he just sits in there, completely unpredictable. I would say probably with the trio of unpredictable players, Shabalov, Gareev, and Yu Yangyi. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, these guys are all very unpredictable players, but they're also incredibly talented. They're the players that you do not want to face when the money's on the line and there's that one round to go. They'll smash your head in. They will play exciting chess. They'll throw all their pieces at you until either they checkmate you quickly or they are busted and lose. So Yu Yang is destined to win this round, and he's really a big threat to this $100,000 purse. So I think that he's a dark horse candidate in my opinion. He's really playing extremely well these last couple months. So he's going to win this one. I guarantee it. The numbers back me up 100%. I think he's got this one in the bag. Yeah, statistics are saying 100%. Probably not yet 100%, but it's pretty much over, and you can see that in Fishbein's face here. He doesn't know what to do. What about the other boards, Robert? What other games can we have a look at? Yeah, let's keep on with the young players. We have Daniel Naroditsky playing against John Bartholomew. And John Bartholomew is a tough international master from the United States and playing chess for a long while. And black, we have Daniel Naroditsky, who we spoke about at length in the first round. In this position, it looks like Daniel Naroditsky's in some trouble. While the material is very balanced, this square on c4 is incredibly weak. That doesn't look like it's that much. However, there's a very long-term weakness that black can't do anything about. Sometimes in chess, a game of immense strategy, it's harder to play when you have equal material and no plan than down material with some sort of plan to get back in the game. So here, I think that, and to suggest a move for black, I think that perhaps you can move this knight to, you can't even move this knight to c6, which I wanted to at first because this pawn on c5 is immediately hanging. So that being said, we'll have to find a better move. Perhaps you can move this rook to, you can't move this rook to d8 because the same pawn is hanging. That, I'm clearly struggling to find a move for black. I think Daniel Naroditsky at the board is struggling to find a move. So I really don't like his position. I think John Bartholomew is doing excellently in this game. Robert, what about if Daniel transfers his f-knight to d7, protecting the c5 pawn, opening up his long-range bishop there on g7, and then transferring the knight to d4 via c6? What do you think about that plan for black? Yeah, definitely possible. The move knight fd7, as Aaron suggested, runs right into probably knight to c4. That is gaining space for white. Hopefully this bishop will occupy the c4 square, and from there will do tons of damage. So all John Bartholomew in this game, the d5 square is his. There's no active counterplay for Daniel Naroditsky. I'm not liking his chances. There's just no time to play knight c6, knight d4 there. What about you, Lawrence? What have you got to say about this position?
Well, I fully agree with Robert. I think that Daniel is in a bit of trouble. I actually have a little suggestion. Got a bit of help from my Silicon friend, but I like it. It is a very human suggestion. Sometimes when we're in a bit of trouble, you got to let things go. Bit of a life lesson as well, right? Get it out the way. And in this position, what's really troubling black is this pawn on c5. It's actually blocking a lot of black's play. The rook down here, the queen coming in. So a really interesting move, in my opinion, is to play the move pawn to c4. It's a pure sacrifice. But what it does is it means that if white were to take that pawn, suddenly this rook opens up, and that's a menacing direct threat to the queen down the c-file. And actually, this knight is a bit awkward all of a sudden. And we could even get outrageous moves like g5, kicking this knight away, start an attack down the king's side. It's difficult for white to really organize his pieces. So actually, if Naroditsky is going to act, it should be now. And I think c4 is the way to do it.
Thank you, Lawrence. What about this game? Alexei Drev, very experienced U.S. Open player, now playing in the Millionaire Chess Open for the big money. He's playing Jeffrey Xiong. He's got the white pieces. Looks like he's got a lot of space. What's happening, Robert?
Yeah, he definitely has space, but I don't think he has an advantage. Black is going to respond with taking out the pawn on b5. And once black does so after a takes b5, we once again are at level material. Now, black is worried about this pawn on d5 because the bishop on b3 can never be removed from protecting it. There's what we call opposite colored bishops. This bishop on g7 is covering its whole diagonal. This bishop has this diagonal. So they can't compete against one another. But the light square bishop is more powerful in the position. It doesn't look like that because the dark square bishop has no pawns in the way, but that pawn on d5 is creating a permanent strength for white, a spatial advantage, and moves like queen to f3 to put pressure on this f5 pawn and try to slowly progress the position. Looked to be slightly in white's favor, but I still think that black is doing perfectly well.
What about, Robert, this thing with opposite colored bishops? You know, the position of the king is really important, especially in the middle game, because, well, if you have the black squared bishop, you can't cover the white squared. How does that play into this game? Is black's king a little bit weak, especially with the pawn on f5 and no longer on g6?
Yeah, the black king is a little weak, but the bishop on g7 is going to protect it for the rest of the game. And as noted, you can't attack it with the bishop. So it's a long way in the making to, you know, if we're going to try to make this rook in the game, there's nowhere to go. There's no open space on this g and f file for white to accomplish anything. So if white is going to try to play for a win, it's going to have to involve a plan getting this bishop eventually to c2 to attack this pawn on f5, but that's a long way away. This rook on c3 is a dominant piece, preventing white from exploring his options. I think this game will fizzle out into a draw.
And it's pretty hard with that pawn on d5 because once you move the white squared bishop away, the d5 pawn is going to become weak. And the computer is going to have to agree with you. The statistics are saying about 50-50 here. Maybe a draw, but I think that Dave, if he wants to win the Millionaire Chess Open, he's going to have to push his way into a win here. And I think he's got the experience to do so.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the experience, but not in this game. I'm telling you, Ariane, he's not winning this game. It looks like Jeffrey Zhang is putting up stubborn defense. He's not going down. I've watched him play for the last few years. Very strong player. He's holding this one.
I have to disagree with you, Robert. Dave is going to win this game because he's got the experience. Look at how many U.S. Opens he has won. And this is just the kind of position where he can grind down his opponent, play on his nerves, and use his experience. I think he's going to find some way to protect that pawn on d5, reroute the bishop to the king side, and attack the black king there, or at least the f5 pawn. What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, I'm going to disagree with both of you. Actually, no, I can't, because that's physically impossible. There are only 3 results. I'm going to say that Jeffrey Zhang, he's young, he's fearless. That's what I love about the youth. I recall the days when I used to be young and, you know, play chess without any fear. Now I'm old and, you know, I'm worried about losing a pawn. But Jeffrey Zhang, no. Rook b8, just played on move 20. We didn't expect that one. Remember, we've just been looking at this position. The natural move is just to recapture the pawn on b5. Very, very simple. Rook b8 is a brilliant idea, though. Let me explain why. Firstly, this pawn is actually pinned. So if you take the other pawn, whoops, the bishop goes on b3. That's no good. So if we retreat one, what black actually wants to do, he's being a bit audacious. He's being a bit cheeky, actually. He's saying, you know what? I like my pawn on this A file down here and not the B file. And what's the reason for that? Well, the reason is, and a general rule of thumb, is that if your bishop can support the square that the pawn queens, so in this example, the bishop is shooting down this diagonal here, the pawn is down here, he might think, do you know what? I might have a few chances. So rook b8 is a really audacious little move. Might work out for him. Then again, it might not. Too close to call. Too close to call. I haven't got any opinions about it.
Well, there's that old age question, youth versus experience. I'm with Dave again. And did you know, Robert, that in chess circles, he is the renowned arm wrestling champion? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you can only shake hands in chess. You can't arm wrestle, so.
Unfortunately for Dave. Now, basically, we have another young player from Vietnam, a national hero. He is on board 3, and he is playing Wan Yungnyo, international master. How is he doing, Robert?
You know, his position looks pretty good. He's playing with black. The material is even. However, white is trying to launch an attack. This queen on g3 is aiming directly at that king on g8. But one queen is not enough. The bishop on d3 also presents some trouble at the pawn h7. But again, you can't just play with uncoordinated one-piece attacks. That being said, he has some space. Black is trying to counter. Eventually, the idea is to protect the king side, perhaps the move g6 at the right moment. Unfortunately, right now, there's huge complications in play after a move like f5. And everything is going crazy here. You can't take with this g-pawn because, again, the queen hits the king on g8. If you take with the e-pawn, more lines are opening up. You could take with this knight on f5 as possible, and it's getting crazy. I don't think that the white player will take this risk here. I think that he will not go, if the move g6 is played, he will avoid going f5 because he's trying to be stable, and the pressure's all on his opponent. The onus is on the Kwang Liang.
Yeah, I think so, Robert. I mean, in these kind of open Sicilians, you always have that question with white. Are you going to overpress, especially when he's already played e5 and d6 pawn? If the center opens up, it's going to get quite dangerous for white, especially if he overpresses. But if he gets f5 in at the right moment, black's going to be in trouble. But I don't think that the young Vietnamese superstar is going to let that happen. Lawrence, over to you before we take a short break.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit like a lot of relationships I've had, it's a bit deceptive. And this position here is quite similar. It looks great for white. The position of these pieces, they're all attacking. But you know what? What I've learned in my life is that these Sicilians are so robust. You've got this bishop on f8, just beautiful little defender. Doesn't look like it at the moment, but does a great job. And I've played these positions so much with white, I can tell you, if you overpress, like Ariane said, in the center, this pawn especially, these two pawns, as soon as they crumble, you're in big trouble with white, because if the attack doesn't crash through, your material down, and basically it's a technical job for black. So I'm going to really back Lei. Actually, I don't like white's position at all. I think it's going to fizzle out, and Lei's going to take the point.
Thank you, Lawrence, for that. We're going to be back in 10 minutes. Don't go away. I'm here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. My name is Ariane Kawili, and we'll see you in 10 minutes to continue round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open. anything. I can't hear anything. Welcome back to round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open, live from Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. I'm Ariane Kouili, and I'm joined here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. Earlier in the show, we've been looking at all the top boards in the Open section, but the Millionaire Chess Open is also about amateurs. So we're going to go straight to the top board of the under 2200 section with Benjamin Katz versus Alvarado Crespo.
Yeah, you're right. This tournament is about the amateur players as well. But I think, even though we call them amateur players because they're not in the open section, they spend a lot of time studying chess, playing chess. These people dedicate a large part of their life playing this game that we love. So, we got to give credit to them, and this is why they're here. And this game is super exciting. White has a nice attack on the black king. This file is open for the rooks. Rooks love the open files. However, this king is a little weird on e2 as well. So it's a back and forth struggle. White made an excellent move, rook to g5. The idea is to double rooks in the g file and put some real pressure on this g7 pawn. Black had ideas of his own. He went rook a to c8. Now, as we can tell, there's a rook and queen on the same file. We don't like that. We don't want to lose our queen. And the threat is now knight takes d4 check, and then this queen will be lost. But White made an amazing move here. Queen to c5. So now this knight check on d4 with check doesn't work because I can take with my queen, winning material. So instead, he went h6 attacking the rook. But now after rook g6, it looks like the white player has a decisive edge. The knight on b6 is under attack. If you move that piece and only has one square where it doesn't get lost to a8, there's a beautiful threat, rook takes c6. And that is a decisive blow because you cannot take back on c6 because my queen is hitting you on e7. And if queen takes c5, we retreat with a rook on c5. And as we can tell, White is up a bishop. So Benjamin Katz is the highest rated player in the section. It looks like he may be going down in the second round.
That's going to be a big upset for the under 2200 section. Top seed losing in the second round. That's going to be hard to get back up. And besides the other threats of moving the queen and so forth, we also have threats with e6, doubling rooks on the g file. I think Benjamin doesn't really have much here. What are some possible defenses? What about if he moves the queens, perhaps to d8, protecting the knight on b6?
Yeah, queen d8 is a viable option here. It protects the knight on b6. It gets rid of this rook takes c6 idea that we were just speaking about. However, rook hg1, simple chess. This pawn on g7 is in grave danger. How do you protect it? You can't move the queen back to e7 where it was. The only way to directly protect it is rook to f7. And now there are so many options here. Maybe pawn to e6 is possible. Forking this bishop and this rook looks real dangerous for black right about now. I wouldn't like to be in his chair. He's probably pretty nervous. The top seed might go down in this round. I'm liking White's chances.
Thank you, Robert. I'd like to remind everybody that the Millionaire Chess Open is about making chess popular and accessible to everybody. And in saying that, we have a lot of foreign crews here covering the Millionaire Chess Open because it's interesting. It's not just the top players, it's also about the amateurs playing for the biggest purse in open chess history. Let's go to Alexander, who has one of those crew members over here.
Thanks, Ariane. Yes, there are a lot of documentarians at this tournament, but they're following the specific players from their individual countries inside that room. But one guy in particular, a filmmaker, he's caught all angles of everything about this tournament from day one since it started, even as we were setting up and everything, and to try and capture the moment, is Jeff Plunkett. Jeff, what made you gravitate towards capturing Millionaire Chess?
Yeah, it actually started with there was a Slate magazine article that was talking about the Sinkfeld, I believe it's called, Cup that was in St. Louis not too long ago, and it really was interesting. Chess was totally not on my radar, and towards the end of the article, it mentioned Maurice Ashley and his attempt to try and really popularize the sport with this tournament sort of being the foundation of this real push, and I was totally, as a big sports fan, I was like, what is going on in chess? And so that was sort of the start of it. And then I called Maurice, and we had a great talk, and I was really sort of interested in sort of how he was going to try and pull this off.
How long have you been a filmmaker, Jeff?
A while ago. I went to UC Berkeley's journalism school about 10 years ago or so, and have been making various types of stuff since. So the last thing I did a 30 for 30 for ESPN about soccer, sort of the opposite end of the sports world, it feels like, And so, yeah, I'm a huge sports fan. Never, ever, ever covered chess before.
What's your thoughts about Millionaire Chess so far, with fresh eyes as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think... it's fascinating. Even like in the few short days we've spent a little time with some of the players, and then to go in and see them actually competing. It's amazing what a little connection to a player will do in terms of all of a sudden I'm rooting for Irina Krush and Wesley So and Timur and all these folks that we've been talking to, and it's interesting. You meet them, you hear their stories, and then all of a sudden you're a fan. Yeah, you're a fan. And but I'll be honest, I still wish my chess IQ needs to be raised, because I'm not getting. Right now, I'm not captivated by the games. Like, I can see the broadcast, and these guys are all captivated. Lawrence and Robert and everybody, and I need to get there. And I feel like I'm exactly who you guys are trying to reach. With this tournament.
But you're almost there. This is day one.
Yeah, right.
So from that Slate article to day one, I'm going to check in with you later. But are you more inspired? Is it cultivated into something you actually thought was amazing when you first read the article?
No, I'm inspired by Amy and Maurice's vision. I think big dreams are. I'm always captivated by big dreams, and so I'm a huge fan of those two, and the whole event. And I'm still in an honest way, still sort of dubious about sort of how it goes. How can chess get there? But I think it's been an amazing sort of first couple days to sort of see how you guys are trying to make it happen,
Okay, well, I look forward to checking with you as the days go by and how big of a fan you become. And speaking of the Sinkfeld Cup, this crew that is doing the broadcast is the geniuses behind Millionaire Chess, and of course works with Maurice quite closely over the years. So kudos to them. They're an amazing crew.
Actually, can I say, I just as somebody in production, they're amazing. They're great, and they've been so. It's not always that they're gracious about other.
Stop it, you two, in my ear. Gushing about them.
They've been great. So.
Everyone's changing the face of chess as I spit that out, but including Robert and Ariane. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Alexandra. The Millionaire Chess Open. Big money, big dreams, and big players. 550 players, more than 550 players in that playing hall right now at round 2, representing over 40 different countries. And one of those players is Bu Xianji, one of the youngest grandmasters in chess history. I believe Lawrence has something to say about his game against 15-year-old Xianji.
Absolutely. Well, we saw in the first round that Bu had a few difficulties. He managed to win his game, but really his opponent should have held him. In this particular game as well, it looks as though the youngster Chandra, we can see him there donned in the 80s jumpsuit. Wasn't even born in the 80s, still donning it. He looks focused. He looks good, and rightly so, because his position is solid as a rock. He played the move on move 21 here. If we look at the board, we've got bishop takes d6. In the current position, white was threatening. I'll use the threatening. That arrow is wonky, isn't it? Let's do that again. These two pieces, but actually the queen is pinned, so you can't do that at the moment. All he would need to do is get out the way. But instead, Chandra said, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to take that off. Does he lose a piece? Well, looks like it at first because knight takes bishop. What do you do next? Well, he plays the sneaky little move, queen e6. This is the whole point of the variation, in fact. And what his idea is he has a double attack. This queen attacks the bishop on e3, the rook attacks the knight, and the knight is pinned itself. I'll do that in a blue arrow so that everybody understands down there. Basically, he wins the piece back, and he's absolutely fine. Are we going to see Boo pull off another win today? He's going to have to really press hard, but I think, Chandra, look at him. You know, you can't lose wearing that, so I'm going to back a draw.
Thank you, Lawrence. You know, Robert, I think that there could be some psychological aspects at play here. Bu Xiangzi was very famous chess prodigy, and now in his late 20s, perhaps having not achieved everything that was expected of him, but still an extremely strong grandmaster. And now he's playing right opposite him, one of those 14, 15-year-old child prodigies. How does that make him feel? Would that affect the way he plays, maybe make some more emotional decisions?
Yeah, you know, I don't think it's quite fair to completely compare the two. While Chandra's a young and talented player, Bu Xiangzi was a real prodigy. Not that Chandra isn't, but he was a younger and became a grandmaster at that age. Now, at 2,700 plus, he's one of the strongest players in this field, #2 in the competition. Lately, he's going on a tear, winning tournament after tournament in Europe. His confidence should be at an all-time high. However, he is struggling in this event. In game 1, he almost didn't pull it off. Right now, he won't pull it off. I said that last time. I was definitive. I was wrong. I admit when I make mistakes. I'm not wrong this time. He is not beating the staunch defense of Akshat Chandra.
Yeah, I think that this youngster really has him on his heels here. Now let's go to a completely different game. Rauf Mamedov, all the way from Azerbaijan. Very fighting, aggressive player, very unpredictable. Completely unpredictable in openings, of course, and being from the Caucasus, naturally a gifted tactician. What do you think about this game?
This game just got crazy. These guys are like boxers taking swings at each other with no regard for their own safety. If we take a look at the position on the board, White just captured with pawn takes c5. Black said, you know what, you have a passed pawn on a6, trying to march that one down for queen? I don't care. Knight takes f4. Well, it looks like he gained his pawn back, but there are also so many more threats. The bishop on d3 is under attack. This bishop is a monster on this diagonal. Lots of threats coming. So Kadri's White decided to capture that ferocious knight. He went bishop takes f3, ignoring the capture possible on f4. Now White has plenty of options here. The position is really dangerous. I might opt for a move like rook to c4, protecting my knight, and now I can take this bishop if you give me the opportunity. Crazy, crazy game. This pawn on a6 may be the deciding factor. If that becomes a young lady, it's all over.
Wow, I think this position is completely complicated, but playing right into Mamedov's hands. You know, he's very gifted tactically, and this is his kind of position, where he can just calculate move after move and not just rely on his intuition. Lawrence, what do you think about this position?
Well, I used to play football before I tore my knee ligaments a few years ago. And when I say football, I mean soccer, of course, coming from the UK. We used to play in the sun, in the rain, and I remember some of those rainy days used to get absolutely filthy on that field. And I can tell you that this position is muddier than my boots, because the truth is, I don't know what's going on. Pieces are flying all over the place. They've got a pawn up here. I don't know what this guy's going to do. He's probably going to make a queen. I pass. It's a complete mess. The computer agrees with me. It keeps on changing its mind, like one of my ex-girlfriends, and who knows what's going to happen. Mamedov's a favorite because he's the better tactician, but Kadrich, you can't rule him out either. Any result's possible.
Thank you, Lawrence. You are on fire tonight, I have to say. You're coming out with the jokes one by one. What about you, Robert?
No, not jokes. I'm just afraid that all my ex-girlfriends are watching and going to send me abusive messages.
Well, hopefully they can calculate further than Mamedov can in this position. What about you, Robert? What other games can we have a look at in this very exciting round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open?
You know, we have to go back to board 1. Wesley So, the tournament favorite, my pick to be the champion of the first Millionaire Chess Open. I know you disagree with me about this. We've had a little back and forth, but in this game right now, I think he's doing quite well. His king, we mentioned, is a little bit a little bit unsafe in the center. However, he's done a good job of surrounding it with his rooks. You see that his rook on d8 is protecting this pawn on d6. That pawn is very well protected. The queen on a5 doesn't have that many spaces to go to, but it's wreaking some havoc on the queen side. As these pawns in a3, b3, and c4 are all a little weak, there's not a clear path to where they will go. However, I will say this for Alexander Ivanov. One, he's doing very poorly on the clock, which doesn't bode well for him. However, I do like his position. Knight to b4 will come into play, and black has to make a move now. How do you combat that? There's no real way. If I move my queen back to b6, for example, the knight rocks into b4, attacking the rook on c6, threatening to come into d5, and it's looking really good. I don't want to say he will make this upset happen, but the veteran player is looking good, and he should be content. And he looks a little smug over there.
He does look a bit smug, and he ought to be, with all of his experience winning several different U.S. Opens, different U.S. tournaments. And the computer has given him 60% winning chance in this current position. But I would have to say that the time differential is maybe not substantial at the moment, but as the moves go on, it might start getting hard to play with white, because white's got to make some decisions. And making decisions with under 20 minutes on the clock, that's going to be quite difficult, especially against such a sharp player as Wesley So. Lawrence, what do you think?
Time is money, money is power. I can't remember how the rest goes. But anyway, the point is that he's got 35 minutes deficit against Wesley So. You know, Wesley being the better player, not just on paper, he is the better player. He's the top seed for a reason. We can see him there. He is going to, a lot of the time in chess, what you have to do is when the position isn't really the kind of position you're looking to achieve, you've got to mix things up. And I think that's what Wesley's doing. And I think he's noticed how short Ivanov is on time. And I would expect him here to try and do something a bit more audacious on the board. I think we've just had a move, in fact, rook d to c8, just piling the pressure down that c-file. He really wants to make white suffer because he's got a lot of pressure, and especially on this pawn. If we look here on c4, if I can just point that out in red, I'll do red because that signifies danger. It looks as though, you know, Ivanov's got a few decisions to make. If he plays the move knight to b4, like Robert and Ariane were commenting on before, this might work, but maybe black can just play rook c5 and say, you know what, you can't really put your knight in on d5 now. I'm just going to whip that guy off and nothing's really going to happen. So I think it's a very balanced game. Wesley's still gunning for the win, but Ivanov, an experienced grandmaster, he's going to certainly try his best to hold. And remember, these guys, they don't just want to hold, they want to win as well. So we're not going to count out an Ivanov win. I say there's 3 results possible there. On board 2, what I find interesting about this matchup, Bu Jianji against Chandra, is that Bu, as we've all seen and we've commented on at the beginning of the show, he used to be a child prodigy. At the time, when he became a grandmaster, he was the youngest grandmaster of all time. So he knows what it's like to be the youngster. He knows what it's like to be the prodigy. And the fact that he's now facing a youngster, he might just think, you know what? Yeah, I remember when I was that fearless. You know, he's 28 now, probably got a family. I'm not sure about that. But in any case, it's just an interesting matchup. And I think Chandra, well, we've got f5 on the board, but Chandra's doing fine. He really should hold this, and we'll see what happens. But back to you, Ariane and Robert.
Thank you, Lawrence. We are here with a very special guest, the genius behind the Millionaire Chess Open, Maurice Ashley. How are you feeling about this dream of yours that has suddenly come true? It's here. We're in round 2. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm loving it. I'm loving your commentary. This is my refuge, watching you guys. You know I love to do commentary myself, so putting the reins into your hands, listening to your excitement, and Lawrence going crazy over there with the jokes. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, so I'm feeling really good right now.
Excellent. And what do you think? Who's your favorite? I know I shouldn't ask you that, but I'm going to.
I'm the organizer. I can't do that. It's not right. I mean, I put it on paper. There's the number 1 and 2 players. If I'm a commentator, yeah, I can start talking trash. But as an organizer, I'll just say everybody's my favorite. Oh, that's a yucky answer, right? That's like this. Ugh.
Very diplomatic.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not really a diplomat. But this has been a dream of mine, and I'm really grateful to see all the players come here and participate, enjoy themselves, come to a big-time tournament, and maybe we get the chance to change the direction of chess in the United States and possibly elevate it more so around the world. It's our little step, our little piece, and I'm happy to be a contributor.
Absolutely. You are a huge contributor to revolutionizing the way America sees chess, and in fact the world sees chess. Where do you see the Millionaire Chess Open? Where do you see its future? Where is it taking you?
Well, I have a great partner in Amy Lee. She and I work incredibly well together, and our vision for chess is beyond one tournament. We're not looking to just replicate this next year one at a time. We're looking to do a lot of tournaments, possibly as early as April, possibly do something in Europe. I know the old guard in Europe might wonder about the crazy Americans coming over and trying to change things with big money opens, but we feel that chess should be spectacular. Chess should be like tennis, a Grand Prix circuit, that Grand Slams and big time events that lots of people come to. So we'll take it one step at a time. We're a bit of risk takers, and we'll see what happens.
That's right. Taking risks is what it's all about here at the Millionaire Chess Open. How are you feeling about the amount of countries that are represented here, media and players?
I'm humbled. I'm really humbled. As chess players, we love to travel. That's something we love to do, be able to see lots of places. And to see those places come to the U.S., descend on Las Vegas, find it exciting to be here, to think that chess could have found an epicenter here in the United States. And we're doing some great things here in the U.S. At the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center, you find a great support for chess. We just had the Singfield Cup there. That was a magnificent event, watching Caruana run 7 games in a row. I happened to be there as a commentator, so I just saw that live. Now we have something like the Millionaire Chess Open. So chess in America is really taking a giant step forward, and it's just fantastic. 42 countries, 32 GMs as of right now. It's just humbling to see, and I'm excited. I'm a kid in a candy store. I guess like I got to make my own party, and everybody came to the party.
It's fantastic. Do you think that with the Singfield Cup and the Millionaire Chess Open that we are seeing a tilt in the axis of the center of chess from Europe and the old school back or to the United States of America?
That's a bit of a serious claim right now.
Is.
I mean, yeah, maybe. We would. Right now, Europe is way ahead of the United States. Let's be real. It has a long tradition for chess in Europe. You still got your mega wattage stars in Europe. Yeah. The best players are in Europe. Obviously, you still got Magnus Carlsen. We have Fabiano Caruana, as I mentioned. We have Levon Aronian, and those guys are big names. Of course, we have Nakamura, and if Wesley So comes to the United States, we'll have him. But we're going in the right direction. We're proving that it's exciting to be here in the U.S. for chess, and a lot of people are believing that. And the more we do that, we get young players like Naroditsky coming, and this young guy right here, Robert, who's an old man now in the commentary chair. But we got a lot of stars who are up and coming, and we expect to see them really blossom in future years.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Speaking of blossoming, what does it mean to you, a player like Justice Williams, coming from New York? We know how much you love your New York, your teams, your Knicks. What does that mean to you to see a player like him, a young player, have a huge upset win the first round of your tournament?
I mean, it's storybook, really. It's wonderful to see young Justice. I haven't had too much influence on him that I can claim. I'd love to say I trained the kid. I talked to him a little bit, of course. He's a great kid. He's a good student, very humble, and his background, a tough background, coming straight out of the Bronx. The boogie down is tough. He's worked hard for everything he's got, and he's flying in on the same day as the tournament begins, and got homework, book bag, papers he's got to write, and then come in and beat a top GM. I mean, that's a beautiful story. And so I'm very excited to see young players like that believe they can come to a tournament like the Millionaire Chess Open and show their stuff.
Yes, this is where dreams come true. We're in Vegas. This is the Millionaire Chess Open. Thank you, Maurice, for your time, and thank you for organizing such an amazing event. Over to you, Lawrence.
Well, I've been to Vegas 4 times, and I can tell you, my dreams have certainly come true on a few occasions. Got a bit of luck down at the tables. I'm old enough to gamble. A lot of these guys here aren't, though. I think that's what's wonderful about this tournament, the mixture of players. We've got old guys, young guys, people from everywhere. And Maurice, I'm going to commend you for doing such a wonderful job and really trying to put chess on the map as it should be and as it deserves to be, because it really is a fantastic game and beneficial for all, let's face it. It's one of the only games where it has genuine academic benefits as well. So I'm thrilled to be here, and yeah, massive shout out to Maurice for putting this together. In the meantime, we have had a couple of moves. I'll quickly take you through the top boards. We've got the move f5 in the game between Bu Jianji and Chandra. It's a good attempt by Bu. He just wants to give this bishop on e3 a little bit more scope. It can move to f4 here, and also he might think about this little f6 move. This is what we call a fabric softener. It just tries to get the pawns around the king side a bit weaker, create some dark squares so that he can attack. But really, I think Chandra should hold. Should he play the nice little defensive move, knight to e8? Knights on the rim are dim, yes, but not when they can jump back in the action the next move, and I think he's doing a great job there. So Bu being held, we saw Wesley So before. We got a lot of other big games in progress. In fact, Robert, where should we go next? Who do you think we should have a look at?
Thanks, Lawrence. Speaking of big games, this is not just about the guys. We have some very strong ladies here at the Millionaire Chess Open. Irina Krush, probably the strongest female chess player playing for the United States. How is she going against Samuel Shankland, equally a fierce force who has just won the gold medal in the Olympiad for the United States? How is he going?
Yeah, this game has actually progressed exactly how Lawrence talked about earlier in the show. That Irina Krush made an effort to castle, but in the meantime, she's losing this pawn on b7 in the position that we have, and after that pawn falls, the pawn on a6 will also come down. So if we just take a peek here, queen takes b7 looks very natural, and if Shankland doesn't play that, I'll be very surprised. And after queen takes b7, the pawn on c3 is hanging. So queen takes c3 looks quite natural as well. But what about the simple move bishop takes a6? It looks like white is capturing the pawns on the queen side. Perhaps they'll start rolling. There is some pressure to be had for black, because a move like queen to b3 puts pressure on this rook on d1, the pawn on a4, and things are not so simple. However, I think Sam Shankland is really ahead in this one. He's really licking his lips, trying to beat her. I know that he's a very, very competitive individual. He wants that prize.
Yeah, and it looks like the statistics are agreeing with your assessment. 76% chance in the current position to win for Sam Shankland. But you know, Irina, she is a real fighter. Her whole childhood and pretty much her whole chess career, she's been playing in open tournaments with men. And so that's really developed this fighting spirit in her. Do you think she has a hope to save this game?
Definitely. If we look at her on screen, she looks really intent on saving this game. She does not want to lose this round. However, she is playing a stronger opponent. He has a better position. As you mentioned, she has played and gone up against some of the best men in the world on numerous occasions. She's afraid of nobody. I've known her for years. She will not back down. But unfortunately, she's being backed down by Sam Shankland's strong play. So this is not her round.
How do you think, Robert, if she has some counterplay on the black squares, utilizing the fact that she has a black squared bishops, perhaps on the king side, or even attacking the b4 pawn, is there any way that she can organize some sort of counterplay?
Definitely, and if actually in the game, something a little bit different happened. If we go back a couple moves after queen takes e4 and castle, Sam went rook to d7, a move that I wasn't expecting, but a move that has a clear purpose. The pawn on b7, he wants to take with the rook. He's activating. We love our rooks on the 7th rank. The reason is they can wreak havoc on all squares and potentially put pressure on the black king. The bishop on f4 is a little weak because it can be taken. If you take queen takes c3, you're blundering your own bishop, so we don't want to fall into that trap. But I'm not sure how I feel about the move. I thought that Sam could just get away with those pawns, maybe not an upper pawn, but have some pass pawns and a clear advantage. So I think he may have taken a small misstep, but he still is very much in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that Irina is going to hold this, but, you know, she's a fighter. Speaking about fighters, who have we got fighting on board 2 at the moment? We have Chandra trying to beat Bu Jianji. Looks like a draw to me.
Yeah, it definitely looks pretty equal. I think that Boo has not gotten what he wanted out of this game. As we can see, both sides have queen, rook, minor piece, and 5 pawns. Very equal on the board. If the queens come off, chances are very level. It looks like it will be a draw. So Boo Zhangji has had a tough first day. Even though his score indicates 1 out of 1, his play doesn't quite indicate the level of grandmaster that he is. So I think he needs to rebound and come back tomorrow, and I think this one will peter out into an even game and a draw.
Really? Even if we exchange queens here, do you think that the rook and bishop pair might have a slight advantage against the knight and rook in this ending?
Definitely a slight advantage. So the idea is that if we start trading pieces with bishop, if I can go bishop to f4 and we trade queens, that in the ending, the bishops have more squares than knight, just by virtue of how they move. Bishops move on the diagonals. This bishop on f4 has this entire diagonal to work with, so that bodes well for the white side. However, there are no weaknesses in the black position, meaning that white doesn't have opportunities to exploit.
Lawrence, what do you think?
Well, I believe in youth. I believe in investing in the youth. I believe in really, I'm not a politician. I can't pull off that speech. But no, on a serious note, I think Chandra is going to hold. I love queen d3. I think it's a good little move. He's just threatening to bring this knight in and say, hey, if we can exchange queens, even greater drawing chances for me. I think he's going to hold the draw. But something has caught my eye. If we move down a few boards, just because aesthetically speaking, it's pretty beautiful. We've got a position here between Yang Yi Yu and Fishbane, and well, White's got more pieces than he could hope for. He's got a rook, bishop, and knight versus queen, which is already a lot, plus 4 pawns. Basically, the position is totally over. All Yu Yangyi needs to do is find a way to avoid the checks. We've just seen a check here by black, queen f2. If he can get out of those checks, I don't know, a move like king back to the back rank. If there's another check here, you just come up, and if there's another check here, we can just block that baby, and that's that, really. I think we're going to see Fishbane resign, and I think we're going to see the first victory on the top boards. And Yu Yangyi, I'll tell you, Ariane and Robert, I saw the guy in action in Tromsø. He's my pick for the tournament. I think he's going to surprise everybody and pull off a big one here.
I have to agree with you, Lawrence. Fishbane looks completely miserable in this position. He's got nothing to do. It's basically lost 100%, I would say. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, Fishbane's game is so lost, I don't even think it's worth talking about anymore. He knows it. We know it. Yu Yangyi knows it. Everybody watching, it's over. So I think that Fishbane can tip his king over, move on to the next game, and get some rest, hopefully, before a tough next round as well.
Yeah, and with that, let's move on to Ray Robson, who is playing Drozdovsky in a very interesting position.
Yeah.
Wow, this looks complicated.
Yeah, it is very complicated. And earlier, I was certain that Ray Robson was going to lose to Drozdovsky. And I still am certain that he is going to lose to Drozdovsky. The position has changed a bit where some minor pieces have been traded. But if we look, White has a bishop and a knight versus a rook, because both sides have at least one rook, and the second one is the 2 minor pieces versus it. The White king is actually very safe. The knight on d2 is a great defender. The only attacking piece that Black has is the queen on h2. That means that with the king safe, the material advantage is going to lead White to victory. And I just don't see a next Black move. I will just, to show, if let's say White makes me pawn to a3, which doesn't have a clear purpose. However, if Black goes pawn takes e5, there's immediate trouble. Queen takes e6 and bang the clock, because the game's absolutely finished after this. If Rook takes queen back, there is a back rank checkmate, and the game would be over. So, it's not even possible for Ray Robson to take back this pawn on e5. His position is worse. Material is down. I just think it's all over for him.
Yeah, he looks a little bit worried as well, although the game is not over. And speaking of young players in the United States, I would like to introduce you to a very special young man, Ino Sadora, who is my childhood friend. We've played in so many Philippine junior championships together since the age of 8, 9, and we have a very special interview with him.
This tournament means a lot to me. It's the first time I'm playing a big event like this. It's great because it's drawing super grandmasters, young and old, from across the globe. and there's high pressure, high stakes. To succeed, I believe you really have to develop a system. It helps me get in the groove, get in the zone, and helps me get organized in my mind. Okay, this is what I need to do, because we don't have much time before the next round. And especially with 2 games a day, you gotta maximize every minute. I think about winning the cash prize, top prize, but it can be distracting and it can add stress during the tournament. So I'd rather just focus on my games, and if it comes, it comes. So the way I see this tournament relative to the other events that I've played is gonna be tough. It's a very different setup, different structure. So I think it's best to pace myself, really try to save as much energy until the end. Everyone's just gonna fight it until the end and have fun.
And there we have the very young and talented Ino, as I affectionately always call him, Ino Sidora, playing with the black pieces. I think he looks pretty confident, and he's pretty happy here. He's living here in the United States now, studying, I think it's economics over at Texas, and here he is playing chess. I just admire these guys. They keep such a high level, 2600 mark, and they're studying full-time, serious degree. But this guy, I think he's going to do well in this tournament, because he is the kind of person that is extremely focused. He's been like that since childhood. Very educated person, very focused and concentrated on everything he does.
Yeah, I mean, chess shows you a very eclectic group of people. We have a player from the Philippines come to the U.S. to study. We have many players from, as we've noted, many different countries. So they're just a motley crew. We have so many different personalities here, and that's what makes this tournament so great. Is that everyone converges in Las Vegas to play in this event, and just everyone's a wonder.
Everyone is a wonder, just like Daniel Naroditsky, one of the youngest chess authors in the world. He is playing here against John Bartholomew, and I think he's in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, a couple moves ago, the position was better for white. There was a trade on the c4 square, and we kind of foresaw this happening. Knight takes c4 happened. You have to take back. Queen takes c4. And now bishop takes b2. All of a sudden, these black pawns look quite menacing. It was decision time now. Naroditsky up a pawn. Bartholomew can decide which one to take. It's either this pawn on c5 or the pawn on a6. He chose queen takes a6. That move kind of scares me, because I would be concerned about the passed pawns. If you don't prove that you have enough initiative to stop them, I could foresee this c pawn rolling down really fast, and if not that c pawn, perhaps this b pawn. So I'm a little concerned about Bartholomew's position. I think tactically he may still be in the game, but he needs to be very, very careful here.
I think he has to be very cautious. White might have some control here, especially having a rook on d5 and pretty big control of the center squares. And c5 looks a little bit weak here. What are some other games that we can have a look at, Robert?
Yeah, and this game will be a battle for a while, so we'll definitely come back to it. But some other interesting games include that in the under 2200 section. We looked at this earlier. Unfortunately, we don't always give the players in the lower section enough attention, but this game is critical. It's the board 1 game between the highest rated player, Benjamin Katz, and his opponent, Crespo Alvarado. And Crespo Alvarado has been playing excellent chess to this point. He's launched a really strong attack on the black king. We last saw the position after queen to d8, rook h to g1. I recommended the move rook f7, which was played. He made a very strong move queen to d6, and now king to h8. And there are so many possibilities here. This pawn on h6, at some point may be sacrificed for because it opens the king and might lead to checkmate. The move pawn to e6 is quite tempting as well, because there's so many openings in the black position. These pieces are both forked now. It's very, very unclear, but I still like white's chances in this game. And I think it's very exciting to see these players play at such a high level.
Yeah, this is the under 2200 section, but we have Benjamin Katz, who is the highest rated. To be honest with you, he is in big trouble. As we analyzed previously, this game has turned out pretty much how we expected. Queen d8, double on the g file, attack on g7. I think Benjamin is going to go down here. Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting position. I think white has played very well, as you both said. do you know what? It's going to be a little treat for you. This is a bit high level, even for a lot of you guys out there. But we've actually got a position on the board, which is a position where black cannot make a useful move. Even though he's got so many pieces on the board, if white were to pass in this position, just say, hey, black, you can have a move, there isn't actually anything useful he can do. So the best move in the position, unbelievably, is just to pass yourself and just say, hey, I'm going to play the move king to d2. Your move, sir. And the problem black has got is that wherever he moves, he's in big trouble. Let's say he plays the move rook to e7. Now you can take this pawn off on h6. It's an absolutely amazing idea. Rook takes h6 check, giving the rook up to blow open the king position. And the point is, if you take back, you play queen to f6 check. The only move here is the king to h7. And here you've got the absolutely devastating blow, pawn to e6. It's complete madness. It's just a great attack. But basically what white wants to do is he wants to take back this pawn on f5 with his bishop, and were the bishop to do that, he'd basically win the game. This is a winning attack. This is already game over. Will Crespo play this? It's very difficult just to pass in these positions, but if he does, he's got great chance.
Yeah, I think that if white calculates this position accurately, the top seed in the under 2200 section is going to go down. Now, before we take a short break, let's have a quick look at one of our top seeds in the open section. Armenian-born American Grandmaster Varuj Akobian playing black against David Berches. Very close position, it seems. Looks like a Dutch stone wall. Very close. Knights on e5, e4. How do you evaluate this, Robert?
Yeah, it is very close until the move that I'm about to show. Both sides have control over their respective squares. e5 for white, e4 for black. White was not content with the closed structure. He wanted some activity in the game. He wanted some excitement. So he made his move pawn to g4. Now, initially, my response is that I like to keep my king safe. By moving pawn to g4, I'm opening up my king a bit. However, this bishop e1 breathes new life. It can eventually come out to h4. Opening the g file doesn't harm white in any significant manner because there are not that many black pieces over on that king side. So as we see on the screen, it looks like Akobian is thinking. It's his typical pose. He's rubbing his nose, thinking a bunch, and it looks very unclear. It's a really critical moment. Do you capture on g4? And if so, does that allow white the initiative and to make black's pawn structure awful? With this move, bishop takes e4. It looks very strange. We don't want to remove the fianchettoed bishop, which protects our king. However, after pawn takes e4, we have this move knight to f2, and now our knight's coming right into the game immediately. There's a threat on e4. There's a threat on g4 to regain the pawn. The pawn structure does not favor black. White is looking very good if this line shows up on the board.
And it looks like the statistics might agree with you. If it pans out this way, it looks like it's a 68% chance for white to win. But we all know that chess is a practical game. There are nerves, especially at the Millionaire Chess Open, where a lot of money is at stake. We're going to go to a short break, but make sure you're back in 5-10 minutes. We're going to be here to continue round 2. welcome back to round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open, live here from the ballroom of Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. But this tournament isn't just about the top grandmasters in the world, even though we have them. This tournament is also about the amateurs who have big chances to win big money. My name is Ariane Quealy, and I'm here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. Robert, he has a fantastic little miniature to show us from the under 1400 section.
Yeah, there was a fantastic game in the lowest section of this event. You know, I don't know either of these players. One could be a young kid. You could be a person who's played the game casually as a hobby for many, many years. But in this game that we have here on the first board between Jacob Nathan and Carmen Childress, White was doing quite well all game. Here we see that White has 2 rooks against the knight and the bishops and the rook. So we have an extra material for White, an exchange up, as we say. So here, White did not see Black's threat. The rook is a really sneaky piece here. It aims in X-ray fashion at this White king. So he, I don't know, the White player, Childress, went rook G to D1, which seems like a natural move. However, it falls into a deadly trap. After the move Queen to F2, there's no way to stop Knight G3 check, which forces White to give up the queen. And what happened in the game was Queen to G5, threatening the rook on H6, but it doesn't work. Knight G3 check. The pawn cannot capture because the rook, as I mentioned before, was X-raying this king. It forces White to capture. Queen takes G3, and after Queen takes G3, threatening checkmate, it was over in just a few moves. Pawn to H3 to stop the immediate checkmate. But after bishop takes H3, everything's falling downhill. Rook to D2 was played to stop the queen from taking on G2, but it doesn't matter. Bishop takes G2 check, double check because of the rook and the bishop. Only move would be King G1, so White resigned because after King G1, Rook to H1 finishes that game in grand style. Checkmate on the board, game over.
What a beautiful finish, Robert. That's the kind of chess we want to see here in Las Vegas, the Millionaire Chess Open. Now, from the very bottom, from the amateur section right to the very top, let's have a look at Grandmaster Le Quamier. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yep, the number 3 seed. He's playing against Wang Yungyao. Now, I can tell you that a lot of these Chinese players, they're very underrated, and that's because they play a lot of games in China and don't manage to travel to Europe as much. They're very dangerous opponents. However, Lei, in this particular game, seems to have everything under control. We mentioned a few moves ago. I'll just quickly go back to a position around this point, that these pawns in the center could become weak. And actually, Black has got a really good defensive setup. On the king side here, this bishop on F8 can do a really good job. And if we go to the current position, if we look at what has happened, well, the white center has crumbled. Yes, he's got a knight in the middle, but look at Black's position here. It's absolutely wonderful. All of his pieces are well coordinated. He's got a knight here on B4, which is menacing, threatening this bishop, looking at this C2 pawn. He's got a bishop over here on the C6 square, bearing down on this weak diagonal. So that, with the other bishop, of course, playing very much, and the 2 rooks, looks like I've just scribbled all over that board, but I can tell you, it means that Black's doing really well. He's better coordinated. He's got a much better position, and it wouldn't surprise me if he won the game.
Thank you, Lawrence. That's the Vietnamese hero Le Quam Le. Looks like that's going to be an interesting one. Black certainly is all over the board there. Now let's go to top seed, Wesley So, Philippine-born American Grandmaster. I think he's slightly better, and look at that time difference. We got 1 minute, Alexander Ivanov, with the white pieces, extremely experienced player here in the U.S. against Wesley So with over 30 minutes. I think Ivanov is in a bit of trouble, Robert.
Yeah, definitely. Ivanov is, if you look at him, he looks worried, but that's also typical for him. He's one of those players who seems to enjoy getting in time pressure. He kind of waits, whittles his clock down, gets in time trouble, and then makes really quick moves, oftentimes which are good. However, in this position, playing the top seed in the event, his position is not looking good. As you can see on the screen, he's only 25 seconds left, and is not making the best moves. If we go forward with the game here, Wesley So started with knight to f6, immediately threatening the pawn on d5, because the double rooks on the c file hit this rook on c1. After that, he went rook to A1. King to E7 was the natural reply, bringing the king toward the center. We've mentioned many times that our king does not want to be in the center when there are many pieces on the board, but the queen's traded, pieces traded, it's safe to bring the king there, and you want the king in the center. And Ivanov continued with this move A4, which looks very, very weakening. And the reason I say that is after pawn takes C4, which happened, pawn takes C4, now it looks like there's going to be some control issues over this B file. If black can shift both rooks there, that looks good. And another idea, which I even prefer, is knight to D7 to reroute to C5, or if you let me to B6, and C4 is a permanent weakness. So Ariane, it looks like Wesley So, with the humongous time advantage, the better position, the better player, it looks like he's going on for victory number 2 here.
Robert, I think it's going to be impossible to hold this with 20 seconds against Wesley So. On fire at the moment, playing all his solid chess, just gonna eat this point up. I think Ivanov has to say goodbye, perhaps even goodbye to that $100,000 win. But you know what? The Millionaire Chess Open, we're also all about families, and Alexandra, our MC correspondent, has something to say about that.
Thanks, Ariane. Yes, I'm here with Cliff, Leah, and Claire, and we're talking about their son who's in there for round number 2, Gabriel. So you're very active as a chess mom, I guess. Yes. Is that what the term is in chess?
I guess so, yes.
And how often do you travel with Gabriel?
Quite often. Many weekends. How often would you
It's a
say?
regular occurrence.
Yes, pretty much.
You're on the road a lot with him at tournaments?
Yes, we travel.
Where's
all
home
the
for you
time.
guys?
Santa Monica, California.
Okay, so that was not that bad for this
No,
one.
that was good. That was a
So what
nice
was the draw for Millionaire Chess to get Gabriel part of it, other than the fact that he does the tournament circuit? Anything in particular with Millionaire Chess?
We love the philosophy of it all. We love the concept of making chess more popular, and also he really wanted to do it. So there's so many things that great players here for a child. It's a fantastic experience being part of the very first Millionaire Chess. That's exciting, and being in the presence of a great event.
And so Gabriel's 9, and what's his rating currently?
He peaked at 1934, and he's...
So he's on the road to wanting to be a grandmaster.
Yes, absolutely.
He's that serious about his game, and you're very
Yes,
committed to making that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the whole family. Leah, you come as well?
Yeah, I love going to tournaments. Yeah, they're really, yeah.
And Dad comes as well?
I do. We travel as a family. We make a little trip out of it, you know, so Leah and I go around and do some events in the town of wherever we are, while Gabriel's in there working on his chess games, and usually the mama Claire is usually here being a little more
I'm here nervous.
hands-on.
I'm
She's
all...
here a little more nervous, a little more relaxed.
So you're Dad's sidekick, and then she sticks with Gabriel to make sure he's okay?
Yeah, that's
More of that. She makes sure
She's
he's
great
got
company.
He's got his food and his snacks and his drinks, and she's really on it.
And usually it's actually one parent and the child, and they're very committed. And I love this, I love the camaraderie of the family and how you guys have the system down packed. And you seem like you're at Disneyland.
I get the trip.
She loves hotels, and we all love hotels.
And how's Gabriel doing in there for the first 2 rounds?
The first round didn't go his way, but he was playing one of the top players in his section. He felt good about his game, so when he says this, we're happy. Yeah. And he's still playing. It's been 3 hours, so hopefully he'll come out with a win on this one. Yeah. It's tough for a child, and it's middle of the night. You know, they're
As a
sleeping.
mother, I feel like it's hard for you too to be nervous. But I really appreciate you guys being here, understanding the philosophy of MC. We'll check in with you guys. Come find me and let me know how Gabriel does. Okay. And we're so happy to have you here, and we're so happy to have you for future Millionaire Chesses.
Oh, fabulous.
So
Fantastic experience. Thank you to everybody to make this happen.
Good luck to Gabriel.
Thank you so
Nice
much.
work, Leah. That's a smart one, I think. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Alexandra. That's what we like to see here at Millionaire Chess. Families, chess families coming all the way to Las Vegas with the more than 550 players from all around the world, over 40 countries, all here in Las Vegas for a big, big prize fund. And Robert, let's look at U.S. #1 female chess player, Irina Krush. I think that last time that we were talking about this game against Sam Shankland, that she was in a bit of trouble, and it looks like Sam has dealt a pretty big blow on this game here with bishop e6. What do you think?
Yeah, and what happened was that Irina had a weak pawn on a6 for a while. And so she decided that she was going to try to trade it for this nice pawn on b4. So she went a5. But there's a tactical blow here. Pawn takes a5 by Shankland was best. Queen takes a5 by Irina. That's her plan. She went with it. And now the blow, bishop takes e6. And the idea is that if pawn takes e6, it runs into big trouble after queen takes e6 check, king h8, queen takes d6, and it's lights out. The two-pawn advantage is more than enough. Seeing that, she didn't take this bishop on e6 after bishop takes e6, instead opting for bishop c7. But after bishop to b3, it's huge trouble. This is a huge weakness going forward. The bishop on b3 is better than its counterpart on c7, and there's an extra a-pawn that black will have to deal with for the rest of the game. And if white is careful and cautious, I think he'll reel home this point.
I think so. And I don't think there's a very big time. There's no real time problem here for Sam Shankland. And I think he's going to pull this one right through. Lawrence, what have you got to say?
Well, occasionally, mostly not in big cities, but from time to time you bump into an old girlfriend on the metro. It's that awkward hi. It's a bit like this position for Irina, a bit awkward. She can't do anything. She wants to get out of there immediately. If we look at what's going on, I'd like to reflect very much what Robert said. It's all about the bishops. When there are opposite color bishops and the major pieces on the board, then it's totally different to just having the bishops on their own. And here, if you do just drop back, basically, black has got no plan, no moves. White just needs to concentrate his efforts on this weak pawn. You can do that with the bishop, the rook, and the queen. And at the same time, you can use this a-pawn as a bit of backup ammo. So unfortunately for Irina, I think she's going to be going down today.
Thank you, Lawrence, for that. Unfortunately for the top U.S. lady, it's not looking good today, but then again, good sleep tonight. She can catch up in round 3. Let's have a look at the Azeri player, Rauf Mamedov, with the black pieces against Denis Kadric. I think he is really attacking that white king there in the center. What do you think about this position, Robert?
This position is absolutely crazy. Earlier on, we kind of referred to it as a boxing match, and Lawrence referred to it as muddied shorts in this crazy soccer match. Now it's even crazier. Black is up a lot of material. If we count pawns, black is 5 to white's 2. Black is going to go queen takes a1, regaining the rook that he was down. But if we look, this pawn on a6 is awfully scary. That it makes up for that material deficit, or white's king is in trouble. White continued with queen takes b4, and after rook d8, I think it's black's game here. The pawn can't promote anytime soon because his queen on a1 is doing a great job of defending. Moreover, the queen is trying to come to d1 with a huge check. And if we just look at Rauf Mamedov there, he looks very confident. His position is much better than it was earlier. And that white king on e2 looks like it might go down in flames.
Yeah, and it looks like the computer likes Mamedov's position as well, with a 95% chance of winning this position. And Rauf looks completely confident, just playing quickly in response to white's moves. But, you know, let's look at this position a little bit deeper, because it's the kind of position where any side can screw up like that. You just need some pretty sharp calculation here. But I think that black is going to have an easier job at that kind of calculation. With white's king on e2, white has to check for all kinds of threats there in the center and not just worry about his pawn on a6. Over to you, Lawrence.
I really like Mamedov's last move. If we look at the current position, he just played the move bishop to g1. This is the human move. And what he's doing, he's just rerouting this bishop so that now it controls the long diagonal down here, this g1 to a7 diagonal. And it means that this pawn advancing is nigh on impossible. And as a result, with his pawn advantage on the king's side, he can start to get that going. This is theoretically gone, just needs a bit of technique. Mamedov the strong grandmaster he is, he's going to have no problems converting. I expect a black win, not immediately, but certainly in the very near future.
Thank you, Lawrence. Now, with that, let's quickly move on to another very exciting game that's heating up. Ray Robson, the young American, doesn't look too good for him at the moment, does it, Robert?
No, and I've been saying this for a while now. I think he is going down this round. This is the round where Ray Robson loses. His position is in shambles. He is down material. We see that white has a bishop and a knight versus one rook, which in general is an advantage for the two minor pieces. In this position especially, we see that black's king no longer is as safe as it was. He decided to try to use his pawn advantage on the king side to attempt to make a queen. And that's why this pawn here is on h5. However, it will become a target in the near future. Black's pieces are tied down in the center. And not to mention, white can even just snap up this pawn on a7 with a move like bishop takes a7. Maybe that's not best right now, but something to keep in mind. And once that happens, this b pawn will come steamrolling. So I think Ray Robson is in grave danger of losing this match. I think he will lose this match. And I think, it's one of those upsets in the making that you love to see at a tournament like this.
If that happens, Robert, that's going to be a major upset for round 2 and pretty much destroy all of Ray Robson's hopes for winning this thing unless he proves to be a big fighter. But he's going to have to come back really strong in the next few rounds because the top seeds just seem to be having it their way in round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open. As we can see in this position, white's pieces, 2 pieces for the rook here, are really showing their strength. Got the center under control, and the 2 rooks, black's 2 rooks on e8 and e6, really can't do much there. They're stuck defending, and well, Casper has just made a move, and I believe Lawrence has something to say about that.
I'm not as pessimistic as Grandmaster Hess. Hi, Rob. I have to say, I think black is in a bit of bad shape, but I've certainly seen worse. And Ray is a very creative player. I'm not sure exactly what he should do, but I don't think it is completely busted just yet. But another game has caught my attention on the board, well, nearly adjacent. Daniel Naroditsky, the strong, young hope, the American hope. He's a 90s baby, so he's, I consider that young. He's playing against John Bartholomew, and a really interesting position has arisen in the ending. Oh, we have a result. Should we cut in there? We've got, and it's a draw. I was right, Robert. It's not, life is not as bad as it seems. As long as you've got a roof over your head and food on the table, we're all right. And I know Ray Robson's got that. So they've agreed a draw. So that's come about through a 3-move repetition. What's going on there?
Wow, Lawrence, this is huge. I think that this is completely psychological. Casper is probably just blown out of the water that he has this kind of position where the white is just happy to take a draw against the much higher rated Ray Robson. Ray must be just thinking to himself, wow, what luck is that?
Aaron, if I may step in here, I just want to say I'm really disappointed in the player with the white pieces here because you are in charge here. You have the better position. You've had the better position all game. You're not in any danger whatsoever. So to take a moment here and make a 3-move repetition, which by the laws of chess enforces a drawn game, it just is baffling to me. I'm upset. I'm visibly upset that the white player, especially because I said that Ray Robson was losing this game, and to agree to a draw in this position is mind-boggling and just downright poor judgment.
I think we can all agree on that one. White is just too scared to go on. You're playing somebody much stronger than you, maybe even much younger than you, and you're just happy to walk away with a draw. But you know what? With play like that, you're not going to win $100,000. And as for Ray, he must just be thinking, wow, this is my lucky day. Sleep, have a good sleep tonight, wake up tomorrow and start winning and forget about this game. Casper, we're disappointed in you.
We are very disappointed in him, and I really can't stress that enough. When you are playing a game of chess, you have to be confident, you have to strategize, and there's no just taking the easy way out. And that's what he did. He had a great position, he was in control all game, and he just decided that, you know what, I'm going to play it safe, my opponent's higher rated, but we don't play ratings in chess. We play the board, and the board showed that Ray Robson was in grave danger, and Kasper Drozdowski was in the lead, really just taking the game away from Ray Robson and he just let it slip through his fingers for no reason.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he could have played on in this position with nearly zero risk. He has complete control of the center. His king is completely safe. The rooks are tied up over on the black side. He could have played on risk-free. And, you know, with repetition draws like this, you're not going to win the Millionaire Chess Open. But you know what? Let's move on to another exciting game, I guess. What do we have here?
Yeah, and the young Naroditsky, as Lawrence had mentioned just previously, is in a really exciting battle right now. He seemed to struggle out of the opening. We mentioned earlier that the pass pawns might be a problem for John Bartholomew, and that's what's happened. This pawn on b3 is looking incredibly dangerous. I don't think that Bartholomew's dead yet. I think he's got chances to hold a draw, but no more, and if he's not careful, he's going down in flames. A once promising position turned into a mighty struggle and an uphill battle.
Thank you, Robert. And you know, we have a very special guest coming on soon. Ray Robson himself, the lucky man of the hour who just got away with a draw in much, much worse position. But before that, let's cut to Lawrence.
Yeah, he got a bit lucky. Not, as I say, I'm not as pessimistic, but he'll be happy with the draw, I believe. Just going back to this Naroditsky game, it's a really interesting little position we've got on the board, because at first sight, it looks as though, if I took this position on with white, I'd be really worried. This b-pawn is just 2 squares away from marching down, making a new queen. White has got to be extremely accurate in this position to hold the balance. I think the best move for John Bartholomew, and I think he's going to find it, is just to play the move queen to e7. Now, what's the point of this? Well, firstly, we stop any queen to h4 down here, giving an annoying check, thank you, because the queen is covering it. But more importantly, we're preparing ourselves for a rook exchange. As soon as we get that rook off from b8, means there's less power behind the pawn getting there, and let's say black were to play the move b2. Now we can play rook d8 check, and if there's a big exchange like so, and let's say the king were to come up, then queen d4 would actually spell danger for black. He would lose that pawn on b2, and white would have probably a technically winning position. So I think he has to play queen e7. I still think things are in the balance, though, because after queen takes d8, you can block with the queen. You can never take that queen off. You have to come here. And it's a race, but it's one that's going to be equal. In fact, I think if the queen were to come down and protect this pawn, looks scary again, but white's got this saving, drawing mechanism. Queen to b8 check. The king comes up, the queen comes to e5, and he says, look, I'm just going to check you forever. Why don't we call it a day and have a cup of tea together? Back to you, Ariane.
Thank you, Lawrence. We're here with a very special guest, Grandmaster Ray Robson. Should I say congratulations for making the draw in the final position? Or what's your assessment? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I think I messed up significantly in the opening, so at the end of the day, a draw was probably a very good result for me.
Were you surprised when he went for this repetition?
Well, we were both getting kind of low on time, and my position probably wasn't as bad as it was before. So when he started repeating the first time, I kind of thought he probably would continue to repeat, but I still think he was better in the final position.
Yeah, Ray, if we go back earlier in the position, at this point in time, when you had given up the rook for 2 minor pieces, I guarantee that you were going to lose the game. But you're a magician. You always have been. You're a fighter. And in this moment, I said, Ray Robson is losing. There's an upset in the making. What was your mindset at this position?
Well, I was actually kind of happy I got to this position because before he might have been even more winning. But once we got here, my idea was rook e8, bishop d6, rook a8. So basically, I want to play f6. And I thought, if I can play f6, then I can take an e5, and maybe I'm doing okay. And it's kind of hard to prevent that. But I think he played a very good move, queen f1. And the idea is if I play f6 now, he can play e takes f6, and then next move he has f7 check, supported by the queen in f1. So basically he just stops that, and I wasn't really able to get f6 in, and after that it was just worse, I think. Yeah,
definitely. It looked worse for you the entire battle, and we were mentioning time and time again that it looked like he was actually building up some pressure that you couldn't really break through. And in the final position, I just stressed how disappointed I was. If you were playing with the white pieces, we flipped the colors around, how would you have felt?
Well, I would think I'm better, and it's not that easy, but probably if he just plays something like A4, I think basically there's not that much I can do, because even if I push my H-pawn, he can probably stop it pretty easily just by bringing his queen back at the right time, or rook H1. So really, I think White should be playing on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Ariane.
Thank you. But, you know, getting away with that, we could say slightly lucky draw, how are you going to get back into the tournament? I guess you have to start winning a few games.
Yeah, well, I guess the next focus is just on next round tomorrow, and then hopefully I can win that, and then obviously I just have to focus on the next game after that. But first things first, I'll just try to focus on winning my next game.
Thank you so much, Grandmaster Ray Robson. Have a good sleep tonight and good luck tomorrow. Over to you, Lawrence.
Well, Ray, he did a good job saving half a point there, but absolutely incredible stuff has happened on board 3, one of the big favourites for the tournament. He's completely bungled it. It might be tiredness, it might be, I don't know, an oversight, who knows. He has blundered in a brilliant position. Around this point here, he's doing fantastically, Le Quang Liem. If we look at the position after rook 8 d7, he's got these rooks beautifully lined up. This white pawn on a5 is extremely weak that he's going to be able to take. And after the move bishop c4, just out of nowhere, he makes a complete hash of the position, makes a huge mistake, plays the move bishop to d4, allowing the cute little tactic by White and Wang Yunya. He didn't miss his opportunity. Rook takes bishop. Looks like he gives up the exchange, but no, he's got a point behind this. Now he plays this cute little move, pawn to c3, and this is what we call a nice little fork. The pawn hitting the queen and the rook at the same time, meaning that actually White ends up a piece up. And if we go to the current position here, well, it's still a bit of a technical task, because despite having the bishop, Black is solid on the king side, but realistically speaking, White's never going to lose, and he should win. So big upset in the making.
Wow, that is incredible. Vietnamese national hero Le Quang is just blown it, I think. What a shame, you know. Look, imagine what's going through his mind right now. Look at him. He looks completely worried. You can see that he's staring into space thinking, what am I thinking? What am I doing? He might as well, do you think he's finished?
I don't think he's finished, but he does look like he's about to cry. I mean, he's really just blundered largely in his terrible oversight. That being said, you have to give credit to his opponent. His opponent was in a bad position, but made the most of his chances. Now, in this current position, it's actually quite tough to bring the full point home. If these queens get traded off the board, it's very difficult to break into this fortress on the king side with these pawns. The bishop gets blunted by that pawn fortress, and it'll be very difficult to come through. However, keeping those queens on the board, I think, is essential. I think the Chinese player here against Le Quang Liem, I think the prime moment to win this game and make the upset of the second round. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
This is going to be a huge upset if it happens. I don't know how does a strong player get back from such a psychological blow so early in the tournament, and especially in a tournament like this where winning, not drawing, but winning is essential every single round.
Yeah, it's really tough, and you just look at his face. He's just dejected here. He's really upset, and you know, I can't stress enough. It hurts. Chess is a game when you're playing, you know, long time. They've been playing for hours now, and then he makes one mistake. That one mistake. It's why chess is so unfair sometimes. And just look at him. He's pained. You know, our view is blocked at the moment, but he's pained. He looks really upset, and that's what chess does to you. He made one error. I can't stress enough. One mistake, an otherwise pretty flawless game. And now he's facing an uphill task of just to try to make a draw, whereas he was in the driver's seat to pull home the victory. So it's really tough to have that happen to you. It's happened to me plenty of times. I'm sure it's happened to you in your career, and it just feels awful.
Well, that's what chess is. You know, as Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And looks like Le Quang opponent has just set up, he's been resourceful. He's set up problems for his opponent, and that's when luck happens. When he's prepared, he's set up with all the resources possible, and you have to force your opponent to make a decision. And perhaps the Vietnamese player here made a bad decision. Robert, what about some other games we can have a look at in this very exciting round? I think we've already had 2 upsets.
Yeah, it's been very exciting. And let's go back to the top board here because this game has been pretty fascinating the entire round. Wesley So and Alexander Ivanov have just made time control. So it says 0 on the clock, but that he's gaining an extra 30 minutes. So it happens when you reach move 40. There's a second time control that gives you extra time. Now, here we see the position, and black is significantly better. The c5 square is still the dream for this knight on f6, to come through d7 to c5. However, with fewer pieces on the board, the chances of white making a draw increase drastically. I think that Alex Ivanov, in his time pressure, has actually improved his position greatly. I do think that Wesley So will come through with this point, though.
Perhaps, although I would be of the opinion that Wesley, in trying to take advantage of Ivanov's problematic time with a minute on the clock left, he might have played a little bit too quick and lost some of his advantage because a few moves back, Wesley had a much, much better position, I would say. Lawrence, what have you got to say about this position?
Well, I certainly believe that Wesley So has made a few inaccuracies compared to a few moves ago. And we are in an ending where, let's face it, it's a knight ending, pawns are equal. Wesley has obviously got the better end of things. But really, I think Ivanov, with his experience, the fact that he's from the old school, and let me tell you, the old Soviet school, they teach you your endings there. He's going to be extremely happy to be in this position. If we look at what Wesley So has just played, he's just played the move knight to h7. That move is just designed in order to reroute the knight via g5. And if white were to play h4, depriving the knight of this square, then he's going to hop back and try and utilize this g4 square. But, and the big but is, I think Ivanov has got enough play on the queen side. If we look at this, I think his big idea is to play the move knight to b3 followed by c5. If he gets those moves in successfully, what that means is, well, black will inevitably have to take this pawn off on c5, otherwise the pawn just keeps on going. And if he does, the knight will recapture, and then this pawn on a6 suddenly becomes weak. So actually, you know what? I'd put my money on a draw here, given that Ivanov has made the time control. He's got half an hour, and this would be a minor upset. Not a complete upset, but certainly Wesley, given the position he had, he'll be disappointed.
Thank you, Lawrence. And I think that these ex-Russian, ex-Soviet schooled chess players certainly do have, well, some advantage in these kind of endgames. And as we're nearing to the end of this round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open, we can see that some of the older guys, they're really holding it together in these endgames. Speaking of another older ex-Soviet player is Alexei Dreyev, who is playing with the white pieces against Jeffrey Xiong. And I would say he might be a little bit disappointed with this endgame, but as I said before, these guys are used to sludging out these endgames, and he's probably going to try and push Jeffrey to the end, although that's going to be a bit hard in this position.
Yeah, definitely, Aaron. That's actually completely accurate. I think that there is a technique from the former Soviet schooling that gives them this advantage in the endgames. They were very well trained in that regard. In this particular game between Dreyev and Xiong, it looks very funny because pawns like to be connected to one another. We see that white has a nice connected kingside pawns, all 4 in a row. Black, on the other hand, has 0 connected pawns. You don't see that very often where 4 pawns on the board and none of them are connected. However, the opposite color bishops come into play. So for starters, this pawn on d6 is under attack. If you go bishop to e5, trying to protect it, you immediately run into this move f4, which attacks the bishop, and you have to move it, and you lose this pawn on d6. So it's something to keep in mind. There actually have been several moves played here, and they're moving fast because the time trouble is hitting, and here they've gone forth with b4, a pawn sacrifice. Dreyev went rook takes d6. He wants to scoop up the material, and rook to b5. You know what? I'm a little worried if I'm Jeffrey Xiong because the 4 pawns on the king side might be too much for the only 2 for black. And if that pawn is stopped and you can't make progress against this light square bishop, I think the chances heavily favor white, and the statistics show that the probability is definitely in white's favor here.
Definitely, and in these kind of endgames, I would put my money on experience rather than youth. how do you think we would stop the b pawn from advancing a bit further? Perhaps putting the bishop on that diagonal or retreating with the rook? What would be the best way to try and defend the b pawn from moving a bit forward?
Well, the bishop on e4 actually covers the queening square, which is of utmost importance. But you raise a good point, how to stop it. If this pawn just marches its way down to b2, it will be hard to make progress for white. So for example, king to f1. As we mentioned, we like our kings towards the center. In the endings, the king wants to come and help. Pawn to b3 is the natural reply. And if king to e2, pawn progresses further to b2, you cannot let me queen. So you have to put your bishop there. But once your bishop's there, it can't really move. And you know, it's tough. You have the extra pawn, you have the pawn storm on the king side coming, but it might not be enough. That pawn creates just enough havoc for white that I think black actually will be able to maintain the position and hold the draw.
Thank you, Robert. And you know what? We have a result, a decisive result, over at the Azeri players' board, Mamedov. Let's have a look at that game.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a peek at that game. That was a very interesting battle. We saw that the king was very unsafe, and if I can pull it up here, that I'm having trouble just finding it for a second, but it was a battle. Oh, here it is. And the end result doesn't show what a tense game this was. That here, black is up many pawns, and white decided just to give up, which is kind of a strange decision, but in reality, the stronger player with black has a winning position. If we just go back just a few moves, it looks like he forced the issue. That with the king very weak on a4, black can try to go for checkmate, but sometimes it's wiser when you have a material advantage, just trade down, resulting in a winning ending. Queen d4 check, excellent move. Don't risk anything with that passed pawn. After the queen trade, the king's trying to move in, but the pawns are too fast for black. Black wants to sacrifice this bishop for the a pawn if necessary, and then it's tough going from there.
Thank you, Robert. Well, one decisive game of Mamedov, and I think another one is coming up, isn't it, Lawrence?
Well, I hope you're not a betting person, ladies and gentlemen, lovely viewers who are watching. I know we're in Vegas, but if you put all your money on Le Quang Liem, you might be regretting it. We've got a position on the board. He is busto. It's game over. All Wan needs to do is find the following move. The king is precariously placed right here on the h-file. It's in the middle of the battleground. It's in the crossfire. And all Wan needs to do is play the move rook to g8, threatening queen to g5, checkmate. So, for example, if rook takes bishop, looks nice, but checkmate is good. Other moves, for example, if you move the queen to b1, just giving a check, well, it's only a check. And after king g2, again, there's no way to stop not only queen g5, but also another checkmate in the position, queen to g7. And that's curtains. All he needs to do is find rook g8. It's not such a difficult move. It's really natural. You cut off the king's escape, and we can see their leg. Oh, my goodness. Look at the pain he's suffering there. He's in real, I mean, I feel for him because he had such a great position earlier. It's so soul-destroying when in chess you work so hard, especially with black, to get a good position, and then suddenly in one move you throw it all away. It's absolutely disastrous, and he knows it. He can see rook g8. I am actually sure that Wan has seen rook g8. He's got a bit of time. He's just checking his lines, but this would be such a big upset. Wan, remember, he's only an international master, gave Lei the eyes there. Love that. Because I think he's seen it. He's just double-checking, but big upset on the cards.
That is a major upset, especially in round 2. It's so early to lose already as a top player. And you know what? Points are dropping everywhere on all the boards now. Let's go over to Sam Shanklin and Irina Krush, who was just lost against Sam in a very technical battle.
Yeah, we saw earlier that Sam had the opposite colored bishop with Irina, and that he won a pawn early in the game with this great move, bishop takes e6. So from there, as we noted, it was just simply a matter of technique, and Sam showed it. He progressed his position slowly without any risk whatsoever. He knew exactly what he was doing. Every single move was crisp. Here, he just tries to make a battery on this weak f7 pawn. Everything is going smoothly for him. There's really nothing Irina can do, as Lawrence was suggesting earlier. And she tries. She makes her moves, but that a pawn, we've seen many of them this round. The passed a pawn is very hard to stop. and Sam makes a great move, queen to d5, offering the queen trade, recognizing the losing endgame. Irina removes her queen from the trading square, but Sam is not to be deterred. That f7 square is so weak. And after a couple moves, the pawn moves to a6, and you can't take it, unfortunately, because rook takes f7 is way too powerful. The king is too weak on this diagonal. It's game over. So instead, went bishop to b6, queen f3, and after this queen trade, it's just a matter of promoting this pawn. And after rook b8, it's curtains because now the rook is under attack, so you can't take this pawn at a7 because then you lose the rook. So Sam Shanklin with a fantastic victory in this position. He's definitely has a wide smile on his face. We can't see him, but I'm definitely certain that he's so enthused about his tournament so far.
He is on fire, and I think he might continue his great Olympiad run here at the Millionaire Chess Open. Points are hanging everywhere. Lawrence?
Yeah, it's a good win for Sam, but sorry, I'm fixated on this league game. And I realize now why Wan spent a bit more time than you normally would. It's a beautiful little variation, and everybody's in for a treat looking at this. Let's look at the current position. We said rook g8 is a winner. But what I failed to realize is that after this check on the back rank, the king comes up. It looks as though black's got this nice little defensive move, f6. You give up the pawn, you hit the queen, but most importantly, you cover g5 and you stop the queen coming into g7. The point is, if you take this guy off, suddenly rook takes e2 and it's black who is the one who's going to win. But white has got an absolutely beautiful move to finish the game off here. He can play the move pawn to g4. Just an unbelievable idea. And the point is that if the black pawn takes the queen, g5 is checkmate. So g4 on its own threatens the move pawn to g5, which would lead to checkmate next move, and that's it. It's game over. So I think that's the position that Wan's been looking to analyze. If he gets that on the board, well, it's going to be fireworks, isn't it?
Thank you, Lawrence. Look at him here. He is kind of red looking at the TV. He is just... He can't believe it. This is a huge upset for him, going down in the second round against a much weaker opponent. But kudos to his opponent for setting up these problems for him and taking advantage of such a weak move, bishop d4. Now let's go to another top seed who is not screwing up the round. He's going to win this one. Varujan Akobian, Armenian-born grandmaster playing for the United States. Let's look at how he is winning this point here against David Berches.
Yeah, materially, he's definitely winning. We see that black has the 2 rooks here, and white only has 1. So white has a bishop for a rook. And we've seen this in many games this round and throughout the tournament in the early going. It's not as simple as it first appears. The material edge is great, but there are some counterplay chances if white can get his act together and start using his conglomerate in the center. But realistically, Varuj Jacobian, very, very strong player, second place in this. Tied for first, but second place in the U.S. Championship. He's going to win this battle. He's not much to worry about. It's a great start for him, winning with the black pieces against a strong grandmaster in David Berches.
That's right, but I think that this position might practically be quite difficult to win. If white's last move was queen e3, how would you propose black to continue and build on his material advantage?
I think the start is just to go rook f7, and it appears that he did make this move, rook to f7. And the idea is to double up the rooks on the f-file, which is exactly what happened. h3 was played to give the king some breathing room, rook a to f8, and now he went rook to d1. But as we see, we know that rooks love the open files, and these rooks are doing well here. But it's still not so simple because this move d5 is coming sooner rather than later. So it's really an interesting battle here. I think that black has to be better still, and black should come through with the point, but it really is tough here, and it remains to be seen what will happen.
Yes, we will definitely get back to this game, but meanwhile, results are coming in all over the place towards the end of round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open. Naroditsky has just finished his game, as you can see there on the screen. He's not looking too happy. What happened?
Well, his position earlier looked very promising, but he does look upset. So he must have made a big mistake at some point. Yeah, I don't know, Ariane.
Let's go over to Lawrence, who has some info about this game.
Heartbreak for the young American. I think he has bungled it at the wrong moment. We got the position at the moment, rook a8 on move 40, but the simple move e6 is busto for Naroditsky. Let's explain why. The point is, not only does the queen come back and take this square under control on b2, but if the pawn takes the pawn, all you have to do is take that pawn back, the king moves, you give the king another check, the king moves, you give the king another check, the king moves, and you do this little dance with the queen. Sorry, that's me jogging, not dancing. I will try dancing in another show. King g8, you go queen c4, king h8, queen to c3, king g8, you pick it up with check, and do you know what? You can even go back the same way, a bit like snakes and ladders, but no, it's just over because after check and a move like a5, actually black's got no moves, that's game over. So I believe Naroditsky has gone down. Heartbreak for the young American.
That is definitely heartbreak, but not the end of his Millionaire Chess Open if he catches up. And these young players, you know, they have such stamina in these kind of events. 2 rounds a day, that requires a lot of concentration, a lot of stamina, a lot of energy to get through. And perhaps we'll see the younger players come through strong at the end. So this is not the end for Daniel Naroditsky.
It may not be the end, but he's suffering a similar fate that Liquang Liam just did. In the position that I have here on the board, it was move 40, and as we know, there are 40 moves for the first time control. So when you're getting down in time trouble, you look for that move number to gain an extra 30 minutes on the clock. And here was the position. He had an opportunity to win the game. And with the 40th move, that evil last move, he blundered. If instead of the move rook a8, which we saw lost to e6, he could have gone b2. Now, the idea is to get a queen. And of course, we love our queens. He was worried about the move pawn to e6. After pawn to e6, well, if you want to get a queen, you unfortunately run into an immediate mate because the king has no moves. With the king in check here, the queen covers the other square. Queen takes, king only move, and checkmate because the rook and queen make a nice battery on this rank. However, there's a very sneaky move at play here. After pawn to b2, pawn to e6, this move that I believe looks winning to me is pawn to h6, an amazing resource. And the idea is that now my king has the score at h7. So if you take with the pawn on f7, check, my king runs to h7, and it's remarkably safe here. Because if you try to attack my g6 pawn, when I get a queen, that queen actually protects this diagonal. So after h6, rook takes f7 looks like the plan, attacking the queen. But I can ignore it. I get a second queen, and this queen comes back to protect this g6 pawn. If you take my queen on f8, rook takes f8, and as we see, black is the one up a rook. And the queen on b1 amazingly protects this pawn g6. So at the time control, Daniel Naroditsky goes down in flames when just being a little bit more precise would have given him a point.
But Robert, you know, this is what in the chess world they call the curse of the 40th move. To explain to our non-chess viewers out there, the 40th move is always going to be a bit tricky because you have the end of the very first part of the time control, 2 hours for 40 moves, and those few seconds to calculate all of those moves is quite difficult. And as we can see, young, talented Daniel Naroditsky missed all of these calculations and blew it, basically. He played the wrong move, rook a8, and fell to e6 instead of playing b2, probably bringing home the point. But again, to play those kind of moves in these critical 40-move positions, you need time. And the 40th move, sometimes you just don't have the time, and you just got to make that gut instinct move. It doesn't always work. Over to you, Lawrence.
Well, we've been saying a lot of things about this game. I'm not quite sure. Looks like there's been a slight miscommunication here. We're going to have to maybe eat our own words because rook a8 does look a little bit weird. I have to say, when I was looking at it, I thought, well, rook a8, e6 is just game over, right? I'm now getting information that it ended in a draw, which I don't know how that could happen. It could very well be that Bartholomew did win. Perhaps even Naroditsky did win. Did you win that one? He's just walked in. What was the result? Draw. It was a draw. Yeah. We just said it was heartbreak. I'm going to have to literally cut that out. No, it's all live. We can't even do that. Great result. Daniel Naroditsky draws. We're going to go to Ariane. It's late in the day here. Forgive us, everybody. He drew the game. He didn't lose. We got a very strange move through. So he's going to take us through shortly. While they get set up, though, which I believe they're going to take a few seconds to do, very quick recap on the other action in the round. Just quickly on board 2, Bujianji playing Chandra, the youngster. He is holding his own. He's set up what I like to call a nice little fortress here with black. This rook on e6 does a great job patrolling this a6 pawn. That pawn can never be taken. This pawn can never be used. The bishop really is a bit impotent in this current position, and it should be a draw with best play. So Chandra on the verge of an upset there. And in other news, on board 3, a real shame for chess fans and Wang Yungyao. He would have loved to have played this move. Maybe if he was a bit less nervous, maybe a bit more time. This move, pawn to g4, would have ended the game. He's still winning, though, against Lei. We'll keep an eye on that. Looks like a big upset on board 3.
Thank you, Lawrence.
We got a result. We got a result. They're signing the score sheets, and I think that's it. That's it. Game over. Lei has resigned. Shock of the tournament so far. The number 3 seed goes down in just round 2. I'm pretty gobsmacked. He's just devastated, the guy. He was doing so well, and now he's really fighting for his life.
Lawrence, all these sort of things happen here at the Millionaire Chess Open. Top seeds losing, and Daniel Naroditsky, we're here with the young American, very talented chess prodigy. Are you happy with your draw?
I mean, I don't know what to think as of now. I have to check it. We were both walking on hot coals at some point, so it was a really interesting game. Considering it was the second game of the day, I'm fairly satisfied. A lot of things to analyze, so yeah.
Well, when we were having a look at your game, we thought you were winning, and then we thought we were losing. We thought you had lost. We reported that you lost, but we are following so many games here at the Millionaire Chess Open. It's getting complicated. So, Robert, what do you have to say about this? We were, putting nails in your coffin already.
Yeah, Daniel, early on we really didn't like your position. Come around move 20, we thought that white was much better here. And we were a little concerned, but we thought that perhaps the proper play you'd get out of it. And it seemed like you did. You created a pass pawn eventually with these pawns on the queen side. We really liked your C and B pawns, and we thought that they might give you an opportunity to win. But then we got really confused, and we saw this position, but we didn't go back in time to recognize that there was a mistake in the relay, that there was a repetition forced draw, because we saw rook a8, which is a losing move, and we had just seen other players make a blunder late in the time control and fall.
Well,
However,
we were really low on time. I almost played queen e8 here, which I think actually is a very nice line. Rook e7, and I was elated at first. Queen takes e7, queen takes e7, b2, and then to my horror, with like 10 seconds left, I realized white has e6, and I'm actually losing.
Yeah, and the problem is that after pawn takes e6, queen takes e6, and no matter where you move your king, whether it be on this diagonal, there's a check in your rook, and if king f8, queen d6, and this rook on b8 is under attack. But, it was quite a battle here, and we were talking about this position. After rook b8, rook d7, what about the move b2?
e6.
And after e6, there's this amazing resource, h6. And the idea is that after pawn takes f7 check, your king escapes over to h7.
Oh my god.
And if rook takes f7, you get a queen, and it protects g6. And under heavy time control, this is a move that's pretty hard to see, of course, but it was a resource available. Earlier in the game, like I said, it looked like you were in trouble. What do you have to say?
So I'm winning here?
It looks like you were winning. We have not run it through a computer, but it looks like this would have been promising.
I see. Yeah, earlier on I thought I was in some trouble, but yeah, apparently I missed this. I completely didn't see h6. I mean, it was a 3-time repetition after he played rook b7, so. With the pawn on b2, can I see the position for a second?
Yeah, if we go back a couple moves here, pawn on
b2, e6 is forced.
And then this move h6 looks like a very promising option. It's very hard to see with your time dwindling down, but I mean, what do you think about your game? What overall? How did you?
Well, apparently disappointing because I missed this. I'm kind of killing myself right now for this, but it was really interesting. Maybe I had another opportunity instead of. At some point, I could interpose queen h4 check.
At which point was that?
Yeah, b3, queen d6. Yeah, actually, instead of b3, I think maybe queen h4 check.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, there were definitely options for both of you that happened. I mean, Ariane, what were your thoughts here?
Well, I'm just interested in your reaction that you completely missed this 40th move possibility, or what is it, 39th move possibility of h6 and hiding the king to h7. How do you deal with those kind of disappointments now? What are you going to do?
Well, I just finished the game. Of course, I didn't see it. I wouldn't have seen it.
I'm sorry we had to show it to you.
Thank you. Well, it's part of the game. You can't. I think I can't isolate the moments where I miss something. I also, I was also in trouble earlier in the game. It's obviously disappointing, but it's it's the second game of the day. I'm human, so I just move on, and the tournament's just beginning.
That's right. Recently. That's right. The tournament is just beginning, and thank you, Daniel. Good luck tomorrow, and congratulations on such an up and down game and holding it in the end.
Thank you.
And have a good sleep tonight. Be ready for round 3 tomorrow. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, I think it's a fair result because I think White was a bit better. So Daniel, he's still in with a good shot. Really interesting game going on, though, between Dreyev and Zhong, the young Jeffrey Zhong. He's only 13 years old. We've got a shot of him there. It doesn't look like he's worried, does it? Got his hoodie on, pretty relaxed, no bills to pay, no tax man to worry about. I'd like to be him, and I'd also like to be him holding Dreyev, because if we look at the position, if we bring it up here, oh, look at Alexei. He's scratching as he's saying, hey, what's going on here? This kid's holding me. Actually, it should be a draw. I won't say dead draw because I've said that already today and I was proven wrong. So I won't say dead draw, but the position really is equal. And the reason is, if we look at it, yes, black is a pawn down, but he's got this monster lurking on b2. Only needs one more square to queen. The bishop on e4 and the rook on b7 do a good job of stopping that, but now it's very difficult for White to take any advantage of his kingside majority. He can't get a passed pawn easily. He can't even create many threats. I think with best play, black should hold it, but Dreyev, he's an experienced grandmaster. Hell, I played a 7-hour game with him earlier this year. He ground me down. I know he's got the energy to do it. I think he's going to play on for a while yet. But look at young Jeffrey, international master already. No worry in the world. I'm going to back the young guy.
Yeah, he looks a bit calm, cool, and collected. But, Dreyev's got the experience, and I'm going to go with that for now. But, the Millionaire Chess Open, 550 players, more than 550 players from over 40 different countries. Let's not forget, we have Timur Gareev from Uzbekistan, far away as Uzbekistan, here in Las Vegas, to try and compete for that $100,000 paycheck. Let's have a look at his game against Raid Milovanovic, who just lost to him. Looks like the young Uzbek is going to be quite happy with the 2 out of 2.
Yeah, I mean, Timur actually now resides in the United States. He actually changed his federations to the U.S., but he did play in several Olympiads for the Uzbek team. So, we have a lot of players who come to study in the United States and then transfer federations. But this game actually had a fantastic finish. We didn't actually look at this throughout the round, but this is an amazing finish. So, black just moved his knight from e5 to c6. The idea is to attack this bishop on b4. But Timur was not to be swayed. He went rook takes c6. The idea is now he's giving up his rook for the knight, but this bishop has a deadly pin. Pawn takes c6 is possible, and then after rook a5, he's threatening a pawn over here. But he's really even more devious than that. If king to g8, you take the rook, and then after the trade, you take an a6 pawn. After king to g8, takes, rook a6, and white is up a pawn and very happy. So black decided to go rook b8, forcing the issue. Now, the idea is that this rook will come down to hit this pawn. But there was a killer shot here, and that move is rook h5. Completely unexpected, threatening checkmate in one move. If you take the bishop, that is lights out checkmate. If you don't take the bishop and move your king to g8, this rook is hanging for free after bishop takes e7. If you move your king to e8, rook h8 check, scoops up that rook, white will be up a bishop. That is as an amazing finish as you will see in a chess game. fantastic.
What a fantastic finish from Timur. But Timur, he is full of surprises. He is so passionate about chess, even in life. You know, he's the kind of guy who takes risks, loves challenges. He does all sorts of things like parachute gliding, hiking in unknown places, and his chess is exciting, full of challenges and risks. Lawrence.
Just needed to butt in there because I'm so in awe of this idea as a chess player, fan, and so on. It was like a David Copperfield show. He's distracting Rade Milavonic, excuse me. Rook a5, it looks like it's just attacking the pawn, but he had rook h5 planned. Just one little other thing in this position. If g6, which also looked like a possible reply here, the idea is that you can go rook h8 check, and after king g7 here, you can just take that rook off as well. Just one little side note. But I love this kind of smoke screen idea by Gareev winning the piece and the game. So beautiful. We're going to see him on the top boards tomorrow.
Thank you, Lawrence. Now let's not forget our first board, our very top board here in the open section, Wesley So versus Ivanov. Let's have a look at this endgame. Wow, I think Wesley is probably a little bit disappointed with slightly inaccurate play over the time trouble period, and now he's stuck with a very, very, very slight advantage, at least compared to what he previously had. Robert.
Yeah, you know, earlier in the game we were very high on his position, but now as pieces are been traded, there aren't that many left on the board, but he's the one with all the chances. And in chess, it becomes really problematic when it's so one-sided. Even if the position should maintain equality, when you're the one just facing that uphill task of every single move finding the accuracy. And here, for example, there are many ideas. King f3 looks very normal. The king has been shuffling back and forth. At some point, Black would like to break with the move h4. And if you go h4, the idea is after pawn takes, now we have two free passers, and the king can come to h5 to create some problems on this h file. So things are not as simple as they appear. The time advantage is huge for Wesley So here. And you know, as the game is in this current position, and Ivanov's clock is ticking down, I think Wesley does have to be very content because he has all the opportunity in the world. Ivanov is just moving back and forth, hoping not to lose rather than trying to achieve a lot. And the numbers back that up.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that, you know, Wesley, previously working as a second for Magnus Carlsen, he might have learned a little bit from his ex-boss by winning incrementally endings that look slightly equal, slightly better, but slowly pushing his way to the full point. I think definitely working with Magnus might have changed his perspective on chess, or at least a little bit. And I have to agree with you, Robert. I think he's going to slowly push Ivanov into the corner here, perhaps with h4, as you pointed out, and king h5. Over to Lawrence.
I think there's one also very important aspect that we must address here. Chess, it's not just about the moves you play. It's also about the current psychological situation, but it's also about your opponent on occasions. And let's face it, Wesley So, he's probably got 30 years advantage on Alexander Ivanov. It's already 10 o'clock at night here. They've already played one game. We've already seen how Lei, who's much younger, managed to blunder, probably due to tiredness. Ivanov, he looks like he's sleeping at the board. He's not. He better not anyway. He's got 4 minutes. Hope he set his alarm clock. He doesn't look particularly happy, does he? It looks like he's just been served the most horrible meal on earth. He's like, what's this? You know, he makes a move. Looks like a king move there. We'll get that on the board. Maybe just play king f3. I think objectively he should be able to hold. But you know, if you're Wesley So, you've got to think the guy's got 4 minutes left. He's going to be tired. We're going to grind him down. We're going to keep on playing, and eventually he might make a mistake. I think that's his game plan at the moment.
Yes, I think so, Lawrence. I think Ivanov, look at him. He's just tired there on screen. He's all red, probably really nervous. He's looking at his 3 minutes, looking at Wesley's 36 minutes and thinking to himself, this is just over. And he's exhausted. And I'd like to correct you, Lawrence, it's not 10 p.m. It is nearly midnight here in Las Vegas. It is.
I'm having so much fun.
I'm having so much fun.
Time flies, right?
Absolutely. It is already nearly midnight, and Ivanov is probably wanting to go to sleep. But he's got to fight, and that's what his experience tells him to do, especially in these kind of end games. But Wesley here, I think he's going to edge this through. How would you continue with black here, Robert?
You know, I just want to say the concept of sleep is an interesting one. Not only is he probably physically tired, but it's like, you know, I got to drum this home. It is so tiring to defend a position where you have no chances to win. But how would I hammer this home? You know, I'm not really sure. I think the key is to have an opportune moment, not to rush things. For example, h4 now may be a good move, but there might be a better time. For example, if instead of h4 now, when this king goes back to e3, so the king's farther away, that might be the right moment. So for example, you start with king h6, hoping for this move king to e3. Now h4 comes at a better time, because the king can't come to protect the pawn. So if I'm Wesley So, I'm trying my best to not rush. I have so much time on my clock. My opponent is close, very, very, very close to losing on time if he takes too much time in the near future. So I think Wesley really should be careful, take his time, lull Ivanov to sleep, and then bring home the point.
Lull him to sleep. He probably wishes he could. But how about white defending with maybe a knight on f3 against this h4 idea? Is that possible?
Well, we're starting with the position at the moment with the king on f3, so he's already committed there. So the knight, unfortunately, can't come over there. And even if he does get the knight there, so let's say king h6, I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how to bring my king over. Let's say, even if we go ahead and just repeat the moves, see what white does, and then knight f3, now the issue might be that my knight comes into c5. My knight's been trying to get there for a long time, and that square is vital. It gives black more opportunity, gives black more space, and this pawn on a5 might become a target.
But then couldn't white play knight e1, knight d3 and defend that, and perhaps have a threat of his own going to b4? And in that case, we might even see an exchange of knights here.
Well, the exchange of knights is definitely possible. I mean, knight e1 will eventually be an option of knight d7, knight e1, knight c5. I don't know if you have time for this knight b3 because I might be able to just move my knight back to b7 perhaps. And now your a5 pawn is under attack. It's really a significantly better position for black, even if objectively it isn't. It just, practically speaking, I've been on both sides of these games. I've won games where I just ground my opponent down, and I've unfortunately been ground up by my opponent. So it's uncomfortable, and that's the key. Make it as uncomfortable as possible.
It's uncomfortable, but maybe we're whittling down to just far too few pieces to make it a reality to win this. For example, in this position, Robert, what do you think about knight b4?
Yeah, knight b4 is definitely possible, but again, we're running into more problems with the pawns. Every pawn that comes under attack is, it's a real issue. And yes, you can come defend with king to d3 here, but maybe I can start pushing my pawns. Maybe I can go f4 and get my king in. It's a pawn race, and that's what it might come down to, which is why I'm stressing that Ivanov should not rush. It's not Ivanov, excuse me. Wesley So should not rush things. He should wait for that opportune moment where he knows it's best for him, and with just under 4 minutes left, Ivanov is bound to make slight mistakes.
That's right. Wesley's got the time to calculate all of this. Let's, remind ourselves, endgames is all about calculation. Yeah. All about calculation. And when you're young Wesley So, and it's nearly midnight, and you're playing an older, experienced gentleman like Ivanov, I think he's got some realistic chances to put this into a full point. Yeah, however, I've got to say that this endgame is technically quite difficult to win if white plays accurately.
I definitely agree with you, but it's also Wesley's birthday, so I think this is, could be a birthday gift to him.
Definitely, 21st birthday gift. Lawrence, have you got anything for us?
Certainly have. Hi. That's a salutation, as we call it, back home in sunny London. Chop chop. No, I don't have much on this game. I think you guys explained it very well. I think Ivanov really should be able to hold this with best play still, although it is tricky over the board. There have been some other results in the meantime. I'll just quickly point them out to you. Right at the bottom of our live viewers, just a couple of games that we haven't really featured yet. We've got Kashashvili drew against Arngrimsson from Iceland. He's one of the top guys. And Kjartansson, the current Icelandic champion, he actually lost to Gaem Mahami, who I believe is actually in the US at the moment. My voice went very high there. I would leave like that. Sorry about that if you were listening with headphones at home. But that's a good win for Black there. So a couple of results finished. We've still got Wesley So in progress. We've still got Jeffrey Zhang. Oh my goodness, they could be here all night playing that one. And we've still got Akobian. But, you know, I think the eyes are on Zhang and Wesley So for obvious reasons.
Thank you, Lawrence. And with that, we are going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peters Fiddler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vichy Anand, Peters Fiddler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere $13.99 per month, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. Make Chess24 your playground.
To the live coverage of the round 2 of the Millionaire Chess Open. It's nearing the end of the day. It is the end of the day. We are 4 games left on the top boards. They're all in their end games. Very long positions. I think they're going to be playing on until the early morning. And we are going to wrap it up very soon. But before we do, let's head to Lawrence for some final thoughts.
Final thoughts of the day. Well, it's been another amazing round. We've had upsets. That's what we love here. We love the underdog winning. Unfortunately, for some, it's been a terrible day. I think the big game, the big upset of the day has to be on board 3, Le Guang Liem losing to the highly, well, he's still highly rated, but much underrated opponent, Wan Yunguo. That's a huge blow for the Vietnamese star. In other news, of course, we've still got some games going on. I believe that Bu Jianji against Chandra, that is going to end in a draw. This is just posturing from Bu. He's going to try, but really there's not enough material on the board for him to create any good chances. So that's a mini upset there. Also, if we look at the other youngster still playing, Jeffrey Zhang, he's going to be grinding it out for hours. He's got to hold the fort against Alexei Dreyev, but I really believe that he's just got too much activity. His rook is active, his bishop is active, he's got an active pawn. I don't see how Dreyev can create any kind of winning chances there, and that will be a fabulous result for the youngster holding such an experienced opponent like Dreyev. There have been a couple of normal wins. Shankland won, Gareev won. Bit of a disappointment for Ray Robson, also a bit of a disappointment for Daniel Naroditsky. Just goes to show how difficult this tournament really is. One thing's for sure, things are getting hot. Round 3 tomorrow. I can't wait. Really hope you've enjoyed the coverage today.
Thank you, Lawrence. This is the Millionaire Chess Open, and we have players risking it all to win the big prize. And with that comes a lot of risk, comes a lot of decisions made at some important times. It might not be good decisions, and that's why we have some of our strong players walking out today with some losses, with some draws. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, you know, even if a strong player has lost the game, they're still in it. It's only round 2. If they win the rest of their games, they're back in it. But it creates an immense amount of pressure. They have to win the rest of their games to even have a chance at qualifying for that Millionaire Monday. So, you know, we've talked about these players who have blundered away. Lequang Liam, very surprising upset. The first round we saw Justice Williams, the big upset. But, you know, you got to keep your head up. It's what chess is all about. It's a very psychological game. And they'll be back tomorrow for more Fighting Chess.
And we'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Please join us for round 3 of the Millionaire Chess Open live from Las Vegas. I'm Ariane Kawili, and I am here with Robert Hess. Good night.